Welcome everybody. 9 o'clock, we better get started. Let's see, we're on tape, I assume. So go ahead and identify everybody. Dick, training with the Assembly.
Daryl Hess, Municipal Ombudsman.
Amanda Moser with the Clerk's Office.
Amy Dombrowski, Assembly.
Dick Tremaine, Vice Chair of FCC.
Bob Churchill, Rogers Park Community Council.
Al Manny, Appalooke Council, Board of Directors of Federation.
Julia Tucker, Assembly Council.
Tim Steele, Assembly.
Okay. Thanks for being here. And one late arrival. Hello, Mark Butler. How are you, sir?
Good.
Fine. Get Amanda back in here.
Changes noted or underlined?
Just changing dates.
I wonder which way we should go. Go with the final and work through it, or take the red line one and work through it. Seems like the final one's already been agreed to. You were at that meeting, weren't you?
No,
You weren't.
I don't know if
Okay.
anything's been agreed to.
Okay. Dick, were you at the last meeting?
I
With
was.
Barbara.
There was Barbara, Britt, who's the chair of the FCC, and myself.
Okay.
Britt and Barbara are both out of town this week.
Yeah.
And for the record, since we're on the record, the FCC was not formally noticed in the meeting today,
Okay.
which I find
Surprising.
surprising.
So noted.
I haven't seen the marked up version. At the meeting there, we were working on two different versions, a early draft and the final signed copy.
Okay.
So it would be worthwhile, I think, Mr. Chair, to go through, just to glance page by page rather than discuss these changes.
Why don't we look? Let's look at the final one and go page by page on that one. If that's one you guys were working on last time, Dick.
Well, I think
That'd be the one
this
that had the
gray line
changes on it.
version shows the changes from the
Okay.
final, so I think that
Let's take a few minutes to go through this. I've got to leave exactly at 9 o'clock, so
10 o'clock?
you're going to get to do it after that. 10 o'clock.
You're giving me the power?
You always had the power, lady. You know
I'm
that.
just kidding. Okay, page one, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you want
Are
to
we
go
doing,
through
on the final draft or,
this one? The great one.
the working? Okay.
Can you make your own copy to this, if we're going to use this
Three,
one?
four, six, seven.
Oh, I thought everyone had one. Did someone not?
I think they do.
I made one for
Got
me.
one, yeah, thank you.
I'll go make one. Here. Let me,
Mr. Chairman, more to the point,
she's not.
these copies are not the same file.
She's not there.
There's two different files here. I draw your attention to page 7 of 24 and 7 of 26, HC.
Let's wait till Mandy gets back here because the clerks are a lot smarter than we are.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Tremaine's pointed out there's a difference in both. If you look at page 7 on 7 of 26 and page 7 of 1 of 24, they're different to page 7s.
Mr. Chairman, when you have a Word file and you're comparing, when you're looking at changes in the document that tracks, when you accept those changes, that document gets rid of the changes and immediately incorporates them. If you look at C, where it says report quarterly and the dates, these are different dates. This tells me that these are different Word documents. This is not the same Word document that we're looking at. These are two entirely different files.
Thank you, Dick. Amanda, any?
So we had to look at the one that we're contemplating. Not the
We
one
don't
that-
know what changes have been made, Mr. Chairman. We suspect it's the ones that are outlined.
Well, it might be better off just to take a look at the final draft because that's the one
Let's go with the final draft. Were you at that meeting, the last meeting with, you weren't? Okay. Let's just start with the final draft and work from
We
there.
can just, you can have the two like
The clean
this.
one.
We just pointed out in the article that these are two entirely different files. If you look at page 7, HC, on both pages, you'll notice there are
Well, if
differences.
you like one's 26.
So
and
what's
one's
crossed out in
24.
one has been changed on the other.
Yes.
I would prefer to go through the final document because that is the document that needs to be approved by the Board of Directors of the Federation.
You guys haven't approved that yet?
No, we haven't approved anything.
Well, we
First
can't
time we've
approve.
seen it.
We haven't
Seen
seen
it.
it.
Okay. I didn't know if you hadn't seen it or what.
May I make
This
a,
isn't
Yes,
exactly
ma'am.
the same.
an observation?
Okay.
I think I see what Mr. Tremaine is saying. And the way I read it is these changes have been incorporated into this document.
Okay, then let's use the final one.
Yeah, let's
Take a couple minutes and read it.
I wouldn't say they're two totally different. I'd say this is the edited this is the red line version, and this is the incorporated red line version.
Let's take a couple minutes and look at 1 of 24, for lack of a better word, final one.
We're not talking about the common concept.
Let me get rid of this.
Okay, so we're on the first page, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
First page.
It's just the difference in amounts of 85,000 for the.
Yeah. I know it wasn't much, but it was better than last year.
Thank you very much.
Thanks to the body. They did it.
On page 2, all I see as a difference being is the year being changed from 2013 to 2014. Am I correct in that
I
assessment?
think so.
Right, and I have a suggested edit, just to, the second line of section 3, where it says, and to support the councils and the public as they, and I think it means as the community councils, serve their respective communities.
Oh, yes, I see what you're saying.
That's the
It's just a
community
grammar,
council.
yeah. it's just-
Can you make that change, Amanda?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Julie, are you doing what I'm doing?
Yes, I am. That's why I'm suggesting that we do. I think that's.
Go
That's
through.
the only way, otherwise you gotta read it and it's 24 pages, so.
Yeah, okay, so on page 3, I see no changes from the red line version.
And then we should just, even though there's no changes, we could just pause
Oh, yeah, no problem.
briefly to make sure that it makes sense.
Mhm.
And I guess on the terms of the grant, second paragraph. So it, for purposes of a grant renewal, the grantee may initiate discussions with the administrator after September the 1st of each year. Now, what if those aren't initiated?
What page are you on?
He's on page
Yeah,
4.
page 2,
It's on page
Oh,
2. Page 2, I'm sorry.
section 2.
That's where I'm at. Can you restate where you're at?
Yeah, on section 4, terms of the grant, paragraph 2.
For the purpose of the grant renewal, the grantee may initiate discussions with the administrator after September 1st of each year. And
What if they don't initiate? I mean, I'd like to see the word may change to shall. For the purpose of a grant renewal, the grantee shall. I like that.
It actually, well,
Julia, for legal definition of what may and shall, is there a difference?
What's
Yeah,
the
may,
penalty if
shall
we
is
don't?
mandatory and
Right.
may is permissive.
Yes, I
and
know.
so, but I think that
It's a higher standard.
Darryl, what were you going to say?
I was going to say I agree that it should be shall because may can lead to confusion and you know the Federation is thinking, well, it says may. Do we have to initiate those discussions? I think
Shall
shall
is better.
clarifies that it's incumbent upon the FCC to initiate discussions rather than the clerk's office.
What if they're taking September off and they wanna start it in August?
It's still, it's after, it says after September 1st. So you have that period.
Yeah.
And initiate can just be send an email.
Yeah,
Doesn't mean have full board discussions with all parties in the room, right?
right, and it could,
Okay.
and it could be as simple as, just as you were saying, is let's set up some meetings, here are the, we have some things, or ready to renew. you know, like that. So I think it's a good change.
Okay.
Good. No problem with it.
Okay, everybody agree?
What page am I on now?
Whoever wants to scream out on a page.
3.
Three?
Page 3.
Business did too.
So change under section 7B.
Which page, Dick?
Section 7B, it's on the red line one, it's page 6 of 26. Municipality may reasonably require upon expiration of the grant agreement, grantee will within 730 days.
Then deleting 30, adding 7. Substituting.
But it doesn't,
The 30 is what.
this is where I point out we have two different files.
Okay, so what page are you
We're on page 6 of 24 and 6 of 26, line,
Yep.
section 7B. We have two different files here.
Oh, yeah, the change has not been incorporated into
Nope.
section B, so I mean, it only needs 30 days.
So we have no way of knowing without reading every single word in this contract what has been changed and what has not been changed. Because there could have been changes made in this final contract that don't show up as changes in the red line version.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah, that's why I thought we were gonna
version,
go
you know,
page
the
by
board has
page.
never seen that, Dick, so we don't know what changed.
In other words, you're absolutely right, Al, we have to read every single word.
Yeah, you should have came back to us and said, here's what we're proposing or something.
We didn't get a copy of it yet.
Al?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
I think
Gentlemen.
Just go page by page.
Gentlemen.
On here.
And
Stop
that's what-
skipping to
that's
the
what we
changes.
started.
Amy's got a comment. Yes, Amy?
I propose that we let Assembly Council lead this discussion, and we continue on page 2, where we've changed the word may to
shall.
shall, and let Assembly Council go through.
Okay, Julia, which copy are you using? Which?
Okay, my suggestion, and I agree with Dick Cunning, that it's important, we'll just spend as much time as we need to today going through it. So we're not gonna just skip to the next red line because we can't. I mean, for a lot of reasons. And so I think that what we should do, and I haven't, I only got a copy of this a few minutes before our meeting here, so I got as far as page 4 or 5, I think. So, and I'm kind of a slow reader, so let's just see if we can't scan through. You guys at least have the advantage of knowing what last year's contract had and are sort of familiar with the format. And then we'll use the red line just as a reference when we get to that page to cross-check and make sure that anything that was agreed to in the red line has actually been incorporated. So we'll pick up any glitches like that.
Are there
And-
substantial changes between the contracts, or is it just dates and updates? I mean, is there content, are there content
My
changes, or should there
understanding,
be
my
content
understanding
changes?
is that the FCC hasn't seen the document and they would
Me
like
either.
to
I mean, I
have,
just
right,
got it.
and so let's go through it.
Okay,
Because I
but-
can't answer that.
All right,
How could
I
I
read
answer
slower
that?
than you do. so-
There
Okay,
are
Julia,
some
which page?
I'm just saying, was the intent to make
Page
changes
3
to
now.
this, or are we just
you.
updating the thing? That's what I want.
There are changes towards the back of the document. I read through both this morning.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I can't, if you don't read through both, you don't know if there's a change or not, if you're not familiar with the contract.
So what page am I on now?
We're on
I was
page
just
3.
3.
There's
And so the only thing that I would just point out in the bottom there, I don't have a change, but just it's, you know, the acknowledgement by the grantee at B is that the municipality has no obligation to continue funding the program described here and beyond the term of this agreement, and subject to Part 2, Section 3 of this agreement, accepts the compensation described in this section as full compensation. And so that Section 3 is the availability of funds, which I'm skipping on to page 5 about. So I mean, I just think that that's an important thing to make sure that we have a knowing acknowledgement of.
Yes, and that's been in it for a number of years.
Okay. And then I didn't see anything startling on page 4 in terms of use of the grant funds.
Madam Chair, page 4, section C at the top, for the purposes of grant renewal, the grantee shall initiate discussions with the change concurrent with section 4, page 2.
Okay. And that is,
Top of page 4 of 24.
4 of 24C at the top,
Yeah.
first line.
yeah,
Maybe sure.
first line is C. Okay, so catch Dick. So do we have any questions or discussions or major things that came up before my involvement in the use of the grant funds? Is that pretty standard and not a problem? Okay. So let's go to termination.
I'm going to read,
We could do
with all
that.
due respect, I've got to read line by line here, word by word, so does Al. We've got to make sure this is right.
It's, the only change that wasn't incorporated was the 30 days versus 7 days, as we will find when we read through it. I read through both of them this morning and compared them. But we can
Just
go
give
through
Dick,
them.
give Dick the time to read line by line. I've worked with him for years.
Right.
I mean, we've already found one thing, we made a change, we had
Right,
to
we'll
make
do,
another change.
yeah. So, what wasn't incorporated in that termination?
No, I
What
said
was
later,
it?
later on.
Later on the
Oh,
document.
later on, okay.
The 7 days versus 30 days, that change wasn't incorporated. I already highlighted it this morning.
On, if I can interrupt us, on
It's all right,
the
ma'am.
bottom of page 5, third line from the bottom, under duties upon termination, it says, it's picking up with municipality may, shall promptly refund to the municipality any unencumbered balance of grant funds paid to grantee or otherwise dispose, and I would suggest that we change that to disperse.
Mhm.
And how disposing of funds is an
Yeah.
oxymoron.
Getting my Harry Potter, right?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it's funds as the municipality should, correct, but I think disperse is a good.
Dick, are you good with that?
So consistent to, did you wanna change the last line too? Cause they used dispose twice. But it's
So
talking
that's
about.
what it shall be returned to municipality or otherwise dispersed.
No, let's talk about
It's just-
equipment.
yeah,
Equipment is disposed of.
Equipment, it's,
It's disposed, funds are dispersed.
Oh, yeah, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
See, I hadn't gotten that far.
so that last one stays as disposed.
Right, 'cause that's about equipment. Equipment purchased by grantee, grant funds should be returned to municipality.
Are we on page 6 now?
Yeah, I'm at the top of the page.
This is the one where section B has an inconsistency between 7 days and 30 days.
Should it be 7?
Mr. Chairman, or Madam Chair,
Sure.
or whoever's in charge. The discussion that we had with the clerk is a complex one, and probably more than we're going to get into now. In essence, this is a grant.
Mm-hmm.
And in a grant, the monies are given up front and the report comes afterwards. However, the entire verbiage of this grant is in fact a performance contract, where you're wanting a report before you're dispersing more funds or simultaneous with
So how
dispersing
you're
more
gonna
funds.
do it, yeah.
These are two inconsistent concepts in the terms of giving out money to to a public entity. So that's what this whole problem has come to here. The concept of a grant versus a performance contract.
Okay.
The idea of going from 30 to 7 days is to try, we, the three of us, didn't think we could change this to a grant contract language, because it would take a total rewrite of this document, even though it is supposed to be a grant and not a performance contract. That said, by going to 7 days, it bought us a couple of weeks in January where we could actually pay payroll by coming forward with a report saying, here's the report. Because it's in January that the real thing is. In essence, when the Assembly moved the language from a grant agreement to a contract agreement 1 or more years ago, it cost the FCC about $20,000, because at the end of the day, we will lose 1 quarter's worth of money.
So this
Well, that's not
FCC is
good.
comfortable with this.
Well, no, we're not, but
But, I mean, you've realized that's
short
the solution.
of total rewrite, this is the solution.
Okay, very good.
Well, for
Now-
20 grand, it's worth rewriting.
We are on page 6, section 7, paragraph, section B, where it goes 30 days, and it should be 7.
Okay, so this is upon expiration of the grant agreement. So the grant agreement has expired, the term is.
Which happens every year,
done. Yeah, so we're at the end of the term. The grantee will, within
7 days.
7 days. Okay, so I guess my question is,
Because if it's 30 days, and we go with that, you guys aren't going to approve a new contract for us until you receive this report.
okay, so I just have a question for clarification. To me, the words within 30 days does not preclude you from submitting it
In 7.
in 7. But if you put within
7.
7 and you miss it by 1 day, then you're out of compliance.
Because you don't have the financial reports until.
And
every
so I
month
think that
anyway.
that's part of what,
Correct, Mark?
They could be pushed up, but of course, it's the end of the fiscal year and holiday season, so it's not convenient to have that financial portion of the report due on the 7th.
so when I saw this difference, I thought that you had negotiated from the 7 to the 30. I mean, had purposely gotten rid of a tighter constraint that maybe had been proposed by the clerk's office, because I didn't have any background in it. So that, I just would want you to think about that before you jump into it here, because it seems to me that the FCC can require itself and its assistants to say, look, we have a 30-day window here, but we want to see that report before it's sent to the municipality, however you do it internally, and we want it submitted the first week of that 30 days.
We're currently in the current 2013 contract that we have a executed copy of here. It says 30 days.
Mhm.
Currently 30 days.
Keep it at 30, that way we're safe, we always can do it earlier.
And then have that be internal management is what I would suggest.
I think that's a much
Gives you more
better suggestion.
flexibility.
So we all right with
Okay.
30?
Yeah, because
Right.
it's within 30
Okay.
days, and that gives and that's consistent with what they had last year, but a push to get it done earlier so you don't get that problem that you were talking about.
But you can do it earlier.
Yeah, the problem I'm talking about actually also comes in page 7, section E at the top.
Okay, let me get there. Okay.
In this section E paragraph, we note no change between the two documents. However, the 30 days in the red line has been changed to 7 days in the document in front of us.
Okay,
I think this needs to be changed to 30 days also.
okay, so let's see what it
Left.
says. Produce on an annual basis a report detailing the business conduct. Annual report should be in addition to the quarterly reports. So this other one was a quarterly report, is that what we're saying?
What this is, if I
Any
can,
other?
this is where we're trying to say, look, we'll give you this annual report, it's in addition to the quarterlies, with the realization that the assembly, by its nature, is not going to approve our next contract until they see the annual report. Because it is treated as a performance contract, not a grant.
Right, I guess, here's where I'm struggling with this. You have quarterly reports, so has it been the practice to do a quarterly report after the fourth quarter?
Yes.
Okay, and that covers only the fourth quarter?
Right, and
Okay,
then you do
okay.
it.
Okay, so let me,
So
let
then
me
you-
get
You
there.
staple them together and that's your final.
No,
No, because
then,
they want different
In the
things.
past, and the current contract just calls for a quarterly report, and that's what we've given,
okay.
four quarterly reports.
Okay, so now, my
And a yearly
concern
report.
is that, I mean, it seems reasonable to have it seems potentially reasonable to me to have 4 quarterly reports and some sort of final report. The problem that I see here is in the paragraph that we just did, we are talking about a final report, and now, in addition to the quarterly reports, and now we are in E, and we're talking about an annual report. And so I would just want to make sure that we are consistent in understanding, so you're not stuck with 4 quarterly reports, an annual report,
And
and
a
a final
final
report. I mean, I'm just getting a little,
So the annual report
Confused
is
here.
not the final report.
well, we don't know.
'Cause that's
Upon
what I was
expiration-
looking at.
Okay, upon expiration of the grant agreement, within 30 days, submit a final report. Refer to Appendix E, quarterly annual report schedule. So let's just backtrack for a second. Do we have the appendices?
Yes. Page 22 is the annual report, page 21 is the quarterly report.
So those are the only 2 types of reports. There really isn't any final
Okay,
report.
so let's go back to B and put in submit a final annual report, or just
Final.
annual, a what?
I call them final/annual report,
Yeah, but final's not defined anywhere else.
but it's
Well,
a
still,
grant.
final annual, okay.
Your
final.
annual is really your final report for that grant agreement.
Correct.
Right,
so
I
it's-
guess I don't understand.
So let's take
the
out
word.
final, though.
Thank you.
And so we'll submit
And what page
an
is that
annual.
again?
So that's back
6.
on page
6.
6, on the next to last line of B.
Final will be changed to annual.
And then it says, see Appendix E for quarterly and annual report schedule. So we know what we're talking about, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So will there be a quarterly report,
Yes?
and an annual report for the
Ma'am?
fourth
Yes.
quarter?
Yes, I think so.
And
Yes.
I think on section 5A,
It's essentially how
it pertains to
I
What we've
financial
been doing is
reports
we've been doing 4
primarily.
reports.
Uh-huh.
One quarter.
And I think when you take
I
a
get
look
what
at, on
So
page
this will call for an
7,
additional.
section E,
Uh-huh.
this is a report.
Right.
You doing all right,
detailing the
Amanda?
business
Pardon
conducted
me?
You doing all right?
by the grantee in support of the councils. There's a difference on the 2 reports. This one is an annual administrative report on E, and the other on section 5 is a financial report. And there's a difference.
Okay.
It seems like an
So
awful lot of
that
time spent
part.
on reporting.
So let's go back to that
Enough for your reports
appendices.
to kill yourself.
And I was trying to line up on
Too many
B,
reports.
on 7B, and on 5A, I guess. No, on 7B, I was trying to line up because it says refer to Appendix E quarterly/annual report schedule, that we were on the same page. So here's the quarterly annual report schedule. And Is that what it's saying? How do you tell if it's, how do you tell if it's Appendix E or not? You know, Amanda?
Appendix E says
It says
Appendix
on
E at the top. It's
Okay,
page 20 of 24.
Okay, so I'm on the wrong page, I wonder.
And it says, it also says see next two pages. So you've got all three of those pages
So you can see what they look
incorporated
like.
appendix.
Yeah.
Well, I think on E, that should also be 30 days, because an annual report is an administrative report. This is everything we've done for the councils this whole year. Here's the number of emails we sent out, here's this, here's
Activities,
that.
yeah.
Here's all of these things, and of course, I don't believe that we have seen those for quite a while. Because the old reports, of course, the ones that I have go back to 2002. And those reports, in fact, we can email you a copy of those. Those provide detailed information, what the Federation has done for each of the councils, what the activities of the councils have been, and all of those things. And quite frankly, as far as I know, it never came before the board before it's submitted to the assembly, if there has been one. And I think that's the
Okay,
aspect.
but that's not with this. We need to finish this. That's
Oh,
for
I-
you guys
I-
on your board to deal with.
Yeah, I just had one point of clarification.
Yes, Amy?
So Al, would it be accurate to say that it would be appropriate to have 4 quarterly reports, one for each quarter, and then at the expiration of the contract, which would be July 30th, I mean, essentially we'd have to send in that annual report in July,
Yeah, you have it
January.
encompassing everything that's been happening.
So you, in
Summary
January,
report.
yes, in January, we would expect to see the 4th quarter report, and we would expect to see the annual report.
Right, and give it 30 days to do that.
And so.
But on E, you'd want to change that from
So-
January 7th to January 30th. But when we get there.
So, yeah, and so essentially, when I see Appendix E quarterly and annual reporting forms, I should see 4 quarters, right? And this January 7th date, when we get there, will be changed to the 30th.
Right.
But I should also see a line for annual report.
Right.
It is there now.
Right, exactly.
Needs to be.
Yes, sir.
Or you say fourth and annual.
Yeah, I want to see and.
Yep.
Yeah. Just put it like
So
that,
just
annual.
for clarification, so.
There should be an annual and then a date
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
shows when. it's-
Yeah, and it should say January 30th, or January 31st, because the first is a holiday,
Right,
right?
uh-huh.
Okay, so now that I think we're understanding the difference between annual quarterly reports and the expectation moving forward that we'll see 4 quarter reports, 1 annual report. Now I think I'm ready to go back, Mr. Chairman, to page 7.
go back.
Okay, so let's stop
Let's
at
let
page 6 for a
let's let our
second.
lawyer lead us through this thing.
For a second, back to page 6, I'm still thinking that needs to be changed to submit an annual instead of a final.
I
Yeah,
I thought that we had made that change.
right, well then, but Al mentioned that it might be an administrative report instead of a financial report or something.
Right,
So are we okay?
I think on E, on page 7 of 24E, this is primarily an activity report.
Okay, so
What bit?
I'm mixed up on page 7.
She's back on page 6.
I'm on
section-
6.
On section B, Al.
Oh, okay.
And so
On the second to last line of B. Of
Yeah,
B.
I think what this here is, this section here pertains to financial information. This section here, reporting and audits.
Okay, what I'm gonna tell you is that this refers to the schedule that we just looked at.
Okay.
And we're to look at this schedule, which when we get to it, we may make some amendments. But, I think we said that it's gonna be 30 days,
Mm-hmm.
and that we're gonna call that the annual report, because it refers to the annual report schedule.
Okay, we might call it an annual financial report.
Well, but don't we have in this, it refers to Schedule E in the format as directed. We have a format for the annual report.
You do, it's right here.
Yeah.
Here's the format, so I don't wanna call
And
it.
that's
Okay.
new to this
Here's the
contract.
format that you're supposed to use.
Okay.
And so
Now,
I
would you
don't
take a
know
look
that
at that and see if it sort of embraces what you're liking and wanting to see? It's page 22.
I have this, I have no idea. I'm assuming that that was negotiated, and that's what.
It's not in the current contract that we're operating. Or we were
Have you,
operating.
do you have a copy of it?
Is that what you do?
It's right here, the annual report needs to be the same as the quarterly report.
So would that just be a summary then, therefore? Is it the same?
It'd just be four
Merging
quarter
them all
activity.
four together into one?
No, that's not what Al was saying. Al was
Right,
saying the
that's what I'm
annual
asking.
report should have some sort of differentiation in that it will be all encompassing of FCC activities throughout the year, how they supported the community councils. So you can articulate that to the assembly. This is what we did, this is how many emails. we
Activities
sent out.
rather than
Yada, yada, yada.
But
financial.
it goes
Well,
to
but the
quarterly
clerk,
report.
the clerk's
Yeah.
office has developed these forms. It says as the municipal clerk and others, the contract administrator, so these have been, they're not in the prior contract.
Right, but just a
And
very
I'm
small portion
assuming-
of it is in.
I see.
Right,
Yeah.
and so, and I'm assuming, although they look fairly much alike, one question was, when was employee evaluation completed is number 2, and then we have a number 3 that has nothing by it. And so maybe, we should mark these as samples
Other.
until,
We're not gonna sign a contract and have a sample changed.
Okay, hang on, time out. Mr. Tremaine just pointed out to me that if we actually go through and read the quarterly reports, the quarterly reports do articulate the number of notifications distributed to the councils, and it talks about specific council, it's not just financial, it talks about specific council activity that the FCC has engaged in. So I think from that perspective, then when we look at the annual report, if I'm understanding it correctly, the annual report will essentially just merge the 4 quarterly reports.
We'll
Right, and I'm
just
telling you that there's a
summarize the
problem
four,
on
the
here.
activity of the four.
It has to
if
be
you look at the 2 forms that have been developed,
I know.
Why are we changing everything?
The
What is
22
changing in the process here that we have to make sure is in here other than just dates?
Yes, Daryl.
You know, this is actually simpler than I think we're making it.
Yeah.
If you look at the back and you look at the forms, the quarterly and annual reports, there's 2 parts. For each quarterly report and annual report, you also submit the financial page. And in reality, and maybe we need to put this language in the contract to make it simple. If you look at the quarterly report form and you look at the annual report form, it's the same information. So actually, if you take all the quarterly reports, the Federation could put those together and should be able to submit those with the final financial report, and that compilation should count as the annual report,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
I
right, and
that's
so what
fine.
I'd like to do, if you, draw your attention, please, to the bottom of page 22, which is the annual report
On which one, I'm
form.
sorry?
Page 22
Of the proposal.
of the proposed form. We're looking at forms. You said there weren't any forms. in the
There's
one
a
that-
very minimal form.
Okay.
This is what
Well,
it looks
I only
like.
know
These
what
forms
he
are
said.
new.
This is what it looked like.
We've never
So
seen
there
them
was
before.
Okay,
about 2 sections instead of about 15 or whatever.
so picking up with number 2. On the quarterly report form, it says, do you foresee a need to make changes to budget line items, exceed, blah, blah, blah. And then there's a new number 2 substituted in the annual report form, which was, when was employee evaluation completed? And then there's a number 3, which has nothing by it. And can
Oh,
you see
I
there?
it. Yeah, I do.
And
we
so
don't-
my
it's a type.
question, I guess, is to the clerk's office is, and that's where I was, are these samples, are they ones that maybe not completed yet? I had,
Any idea, Amanda?
okay, so I think that at least on page 22 of 24, as we have now, we'll strike the 3. And then I think that, all the comments from Daryl and everyone are correct, that they are substantially the same, except note that number 2 is different, because you're not gonna be looking at exceed 10% increase. You're not, at the end of
End of the
yeah,
year, you
for
don't
the
need
final,
that.
and that the information that's being requested was the When was the employee evaluation completed?
You know, I think that we can probably simplify this pretty extensively, and so I would like to have some time, maybe the next meeting or so, to go through and perhaps streamline some suggestions as a board member. And I think that we can probably simplify the whole process.
Can I ask one question? Mr.
Yes, Amy.
Is this a time-sensitive matter, and if so, how much time do we have to actually get this?
Dick, you guys don't have your new contract for this next year, do you?
We're in the
We're into
position
it
of
now.
having $0 to operate on. We have a payroll
And
coming
zero
up.
contract.
We need
And
to
so,
get
this
this
is the
thing
part
done.
between a grant and a performance. Grants are paid up front. The assembly in its wisdom has decided we won't be paid until we've shown you something.
So what you're saying is we really have to get this done?
We have to
Well,
get
that's
this
not
done.
necessarily true, Dick.
We
Well,
And I
need,
think
we need to move on,
it's
guys.
What is-
We need to get it done.
$19,000.
We need to get it done,
Okay,
Amy.
can we go back to page
I
7
think
then?
we're
Yes.
gonna- at the end of the day, we're going to.
Let's refocus, go back to page 7 and work through this thing.
Put it on the next year.
Time is marching on. Julia, on page 7.
What are we gonna do with that 7 days? Yeah,
Okay,
section E.
first of all, I am still stuck on,
B,
yeah, so,
Where are you at, man?
page 6, item B.
yeah, so B, we are gonna call that annual report, Al.
Instead of final, it'll say annual.
Yeah, it's gonna say annual report, because that's what we were talking about.
Okay.
And.
And it has a financial component because
Okay.
there's a sheet here that shows what that is. And it says, refer to the report schedule, okay?
And also, if the assembly wants any additional information, if I'm reading B correctly, it allows the assembly
We'll ask for
or
it.
the grant administrator to ask for anything they want, anytime they want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on, Julia.
So
Section
that's been changed to an, with an A.
Yes,
A-N,
A-N.
The clerk has
Yes.
that.
Instead of the word final.
Section E,
Yes.
7 days needs to be changed to 30 or 31.
Yeah, let's make it
Make
consistent.
it
Because
January
so it's not me.
31st.
Do you wanna,
Well,
well, she's out of the room, just make
We've
notes of
already
the changes so she knows.
said
Oh,
Just stop right there.
that it was gonna be 30 days,
Yeah,
so let's
so
keep
it's
it
30.
consistent. And Amy, even though January 1 is a holiday, generally holidays are counted
Okay, that's fine.
anyway,
Yep.
unless
When we
it
get to
comes
it, we'll
in
make it.
within 5 days or
Okay.
7 days.
When we come to
So
it.
let's just make this 30 days for consistency.
Page 7E, you're talking
Yes,
about, Joe.
Yeah.
yes.
7E.
And then.
And this is the same annual report that we talked about on the prior section.
Mhm.
It's not a different report.
And then H, C, and D have those same changes made to January.
If I could bring back to E just a brief moment. It says additionally, at the end of, second to the sentence to the end of E on the top page of 7 of 24. It says additionally, grantee shall provide a mid-year update at the request. Well, we provide them every quarter. This language was in the previous contract. And it's-
You spoke so fast that I
Where you
lost
at?
where you were at.
Mark.
So take that sentence
Section
out.
E.
as what-
Page
Second to
7
last
of 24,
Okay,
E,
okay.
top paragraph. At the end of the paragraph, the second to last end line says, additionally, comma, grantee shall provide a mid-year update at the request of the administrator. We already provide as part of the contract here
quarterly.
quarterly. So it seems to me that that is a redundant issue. I'm not speaking for the FCC, Dick is, but that's just
Amanda?
a thought.
I would be fine with striking that sentence if the FCC.
Amanda?
Yep.
Concurs.
Al, what do you think?
I need to hear from the clerk's office.
Dick is.
I think that's, yeah, I think that's a good change.
Amanda?
Possibly, we just, I guess the whole thing boils on down to is the information that we're going to be reporting on sections 7A through D. Is that the same info that's encompassed on section 5? I guess so, okay. I think it's,
Come to you as soon as Al's done.
I don't see any harm in having it in there.
Okay, thank you, Al. Amanda?
I think I would agree with that. It just seems to say that the administrator could request one
we don't want to allow things to kind
Okay.
of slide around.
Well, then I would propose
Amy?
if you're thinking about, Amanda said, use the word could. So I think if we're gonna leave that sentence, it should be changed to additionally grantee may provide.
No, so it's
No,
saying
it
that
says
the,
shall if the.
so if we request it, they have to
You
provide
Are
could-
it.
you the grantee?
We're the
No,
administrator.
they're
They're the administrator.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
If, you could change it to if requested by the administrator.
It is at
Mhm.
the request of the administrator.
At the request, okay.
So it's just
It
saying
seems like
if-
it's funny.
Okay,
wording.
so I'd like to go, so let's assume that it's gonna be there, and then I wanna go to what Mark is saying. Is, okay, so the administrator decides they want a mid-year update. And then would that mid-year update be, as Daryl pointed out before, taking the first and second quarter reports and
Some.
putting them together and submitting that?
Which has already
Wouldn't
been
it-
submitted.
Well, but wouldn't it depend on what the administrator requests?
Administrator.
The-
Well, that's why
the-
we're talking about what that would be
Understood.
now.
Well.
Because it needs to
well,
have some
but
clarification here.
Let me finish.
Go ahead.
This request, the report doesn't outline exactly what's in the report. It's just saying the administrator, if they
Can
deem
ask.
necessary at mid-year, can ask for a report. All they have to do, are obligated to say, and this is what we want.
And
It-
here's
it-
what they say. The next sentence says, refer to Appendix E, quarterly annual report schedule.
The
I
schedule.
don't know what that
And
means.
so that's this.
That's a
That's
schedule.
Appendix E,
And
and
that's
that's
the
this schedule. And so as a transactions attorney, I think it's important to include here what it is that it would be.
Well,
On the report. So Daryl had suggested before that what was envisioned there would be putting these two together. And so I agree that it leaves it open here, and that's the gap I'm trying to plug.
the
But we've
only
already
way,
submitted
Tim.
the only way it makes sense is if
Let's
they're
let Tim have the
asking
floor.
for something other than
That's
what's
right,
normal.
and that's the way I read it.
Which means they can require us to count the turns in the carpet.
Of
Yes.
course I can.
Yes,
And-
because you're accountable for
And I'm
those.
not gonna sign a contract that opens us up to count the turns in the carpet
it-
at your pleasure.
It's
First of all,
already,
Nick,
it's
I
already
think
in.
the board
Okay.
takes that decision.
The language is
I
already
said
in there.
sign.
Yeah,
Okay.
well,
that
Let's go to
allows it.
Daryl. He's got a comment. Daryl?
Julia's making a good point. If you give your first quarter report, second quarter report, you're updated to the middle of the year. Financially, your activities. I think this is kind of a redundant sentence that probably should come out because the administrator can request information anytime they
Anytime.
want to.
Anyway.
And that's already in the
right.
contract. I think this sentence is confusing.
Okay.
I think
No,
it can.
you're
I
right.
think it
You're right.
muddies the water more than anything.
Okay.
I don't have, 7B, as
I think
Daryl's
it's a
pointing out,
tra-
covers that.
Julia,
Right,
can you
I
just
think
strike
as a-
it?
Yeah, as a
Thank you.
transactions person, I think that there's a problem with that sentence.
Because we
Just
should
strike it and move on to the next item.
That sentence, additionally, grantee shall provide, the request administrator has been removed.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
On H, C, and D, the dates need to be changed from January 7th to January 30th or 31st, whatever the,
I think we're saying 30 days.
so January 30th.
30th. 31st is a Saturday too.
Yeah.
So it'd be,
Every year?
you know,
2015.
July 30th.
No. Only
I looked it
January
up.
7th.
On my phone.
Yes, ma'am.
We have about 7 minutes before you leave, and we're not that
Well, I'm going to let the two of you
far.
guys.
I would like
Tim,
to take,
Amy.
I would like to take a different tactic in going through this.
Well, I'm going to walk out of here because I've got to go watch my grandkids. One's
Okay.
got a doctor appointment, so I got to watch the other
Well,
one.
if you don't mind, can I just start?
I'm going.
I'm going back to 5th grade, and we are going to start at item F. Julia, did we make it through E successfully, in your opinion?
Yes.
Okay, item F.
I'm sorry, I've got.
My voice is going, but Julia,
Babysit some
I'm happy for
grandkids.
you to do it, or I'm happy to try. I would just like to read it aloud so we're all together. Somebody, because everybody's skipping from F to H to G. And I don't,
If we're not changing any requirements, we're just, you still got to go through it. It
You
may
see
be a
what-
bad
I'm happy to
contract
read
last
it.
year.
thank you. Amanda, would you go ahead? Item F.
Amy, please lead this discussion.
Thank you, Dick.
Thank you.
Grantee's board members shall conduct an evaluation on an annual basis of all Federation of Community Councils employees
Sorry.
paid with the use of grant
That's
funds
point
in such format as the municipality may direct.
Grant has to
See
be
Appendix
set.
D. The evaluation shall be conducted between September and October of 2014. The grantee will provide the completion date of the evaluation in the annual report. Grantee's board shall maintain the file of the confidential evaluation results, making the evaluations available for review at the request of the administrator or during any audit authorized under this agreement.
Does anyone have any questions, comments, or edits to that paragraph?
Sounds okay to me. It's great.
Okay.
G, at their discretion, the administrator or designee may conduct a council satisfaction survey during October of the current year with the assistance of the Federation.
Are there any comments?
Yeah.
Okay.
H, maintain accounting records according to generally accepted accounting standards and report to the clerk's office.
Okay.
A, maintain accounting records on continual basis pursuant to generally accepted accounting standards for similar organizations. B, submit a monthly report to the grantee board of directors. C, report quarterly, due April 23rd, 2014, July 23rd, 2014, October 23rd, 2014, and with the change, January 30th, 2015.
Okay.
To the administrator,
Just a minute, please let her finish.
as per Appendix E, with a narrative description encompassing scope of services provided during the quarter and a financial summary of expenditures to date by budget amount, forms provided.
Just a moment. Anybody have any comments?
I have a question. I highlighted this morning when I was reading this. Under HB, submit a monthly report to the grantee board of directors. Who submits a monthly report to the board of directors?
Staff to the board of directors of the
Okay.
Federation.
The Federation, so I think that ought to be Federation, and the Federation shall submit a monthly report to the grantee board of directors.
The grantee is the
It's the
federation.
Federation.
Right.
So, the grantee board of directors is the federation.
Right. So who submits that is the staff.
Julia, is there a way to legally clarify that, or is that an internal?
No, I think that we should put, apparently, maintain accounting records, clerk's office, so we got maintain accounting records, and then, I think that it's a matter of internal control,
Right.
and that that's sort of the field that we're in, and that instead of saying submit, it should be that the grantee board of directors shall review a monthly report prepared by staff. And so it's really the internal control is that the board of directors, it has a.
Gets a report on
It
it.
has a report that they review, because that's the purpose of it,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
So your submission then is grantee board of directors shall review a monthly report. Period.
Prepared by staff.
Yeah, shall review a monthly
And C kind of describes what it
FCC
is.
staff report.
Shall review a monthly FCC staff report. Does anyone have comments on
Okay.
those changes?
Grantee board of directors shall
Review a monthly FCC
Staff report.
staff report.
Did? Period.
Does that work? Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay.
Whatever
Okay.
you said.
Now we're back to
And then-
item C.
And then we say what's
Oh,
included.
Slow thinker here.
That's okay.
Up on F, do we want to put September 1st through October 31st? Would that read a little cleaner?
The evaluation should be conducted between
September and
September 1st
And October 31st.
and October
That's
31st,
a great change.
2014.
Yes.
Read that.
We could make it October 31st.
Do you want it to say September 1st,
It's Halloween.
2014?
Yes.
September 1st, 2014 through October 30th,
2050. No.
14.
30th or 31st?
Give them some real.
You want the 31st as in
Just
Yeah.
put 31st and
It
then
is.
it's
The
a
whole month.
Yeah,
period.
it's
They
a
can-
between, it's
It's a
inclusive.
between.
Yeah.
They
Okay,
can
31st.
manage around Halloween.
Okay, so we've dealt with F. We've dealt with HA, HB. We are now on HC. Are there any comments?
I want to go back.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mark raises his hand.
I just wondered why, in the previous contract, it said April 30th, in effect, 1 month. Now, it changed to, in effect, 23 days. And then, of course, the fourth one was 30 days. So.
Mark, that's because we're not gonna get paid until we give them the
Okay,
report.
that's fine. I was just wondering why that happened. So.
Okay.
Right, so then my question is, now, to go back, it seems to me that the quarterly report, we changed the annual report to 30 days. And then when we looked at this chart, we did the fourth quarter report as 30 days, but it seems like the fourth quarter report should be January 23rd, consistent with all these other 23rds, and then their annual report, which summarizes all that, no later than January 30th. Does that make internal consistency?
Is there some, what's magical about the 23rd?
I think it gives for the clerk's office, I think it gives them some time to process the report so that he
7
can
days
get
before the
paid.
end of the month, I got you.
We wanna make the last pay cut of the month, so that we actually have some money.
There ought to be some money in the contract that holds over that period of time to give you closeout and reporting if it's a contract, or to get time for a new contract to get
It should be a
in.
grant and not a performance.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
So,
that's
so
good.
just to clarify, the change in item C will change January 7th to January 23rd.
And then I want us to just cross-reference on Appendix E, that fourth quarter is changed to January 23rd.
Right.
And an annual report stays January 30th.
And we will get back to this table, everyone. Okay,
Okay.
going back to item C, are there any other comments or changes in that paragraph? Hearing none, item D.
Provide an provide an end-of-year report due on or by
January 30th.
January 30th, okay?
to the administrator as per Appendix E, including narrative summary of activities, status of employee evaluations, financial summary report with complete accounting and transaction records, refer to Appendix A. If requested, provide a CPA review of the annual accounting records and transactions.
Okay, let's just peek at Appendix A for just a second, so everybody is familiar before we move on. Okay, so here's the budget broken down. Okay. Does anybody have questions on Appendix A or comments?
We
That's
haven't,
page 14.
It is page 14 of 24.
we haven't reviewed, Dick, the actual where the money's going, the $5,000. So we may have a slight change in the numbers on this.
We have an inconsistency between Appendix A and the budget on the last page.
Right. And we can forward that.
And can you highlight that?
At the very end, the numbers on both are 50,000 for personnel, 12,000 for contractual, 17,000 for newsletter distribution, 5,400 for facility. Appendix A then has 600 for other, and the budget is presented has 1,500 for other.
And which is accurate?
We don't know.
Well, add 'em up.
The numbers on the budget as presented are wrong. They do not add up. Appendix A adds
Where's the,
up.
where's the revised budget for 85,000 we submitted, to the Muni?
You'd have to ask
We
me.
submitted an $80,000 revised budget.
No, we approved one in December. I didn't feel I needed to bring it today because we gave it to the clerk on the 31st when she called a meeting.
Okay, so I think what we,
Those need to be changed, the numbers need to be,
I
I'm
agree
just
with you,
checking
Tom,
right now too.
but
this
I'm
brings it
curious
to
in a
be.
moment.
So I'd like to see.
Well, the other costs, 600, just haven't been,
Copy of
Other
the-
costs should be 600 on it.
yeah, that's the only.
Okay, just a minute, please.
Well, you guys don't have much flexibility.
I don't have it. The clerk has it now.
But can you give it to me, Dick, as an executive committee?
The other,
Okay, stop. Julia.
We'll see if we have a copy, and if we have a copy, we'll certainly pass it around our organization.
Sure, yeah, it'd be nice to have.
That must be Amy.
Thank you, Bob. I want to go to some of these FCC board meetings.
Yeah.
Julia, please comment.
In terms of this schedule and Appendix A, the $600 of other costs is not reflected.
It says 1,500.
It's
Oh.
1,500.
Let me just ask the clerk a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Amanda, what have you found?
The contract as listed on 23 of 24 adds up to 8, excuse me.
Presentation to us.
I'm listening to the clerk right now.
It's up to.
Okay, so,
$85,900.
so the approved budget, as listed, first column there, is 85,900.
Yeah.
But has that been approved?
I'm just saying the document as listed adds up.
So it does not add up to
There's a
85,000.
mathematical error on one of these tables.
And
It's
the-
pretty
$600 bucks
Okay.
somewhere.
And we will find that.
Okay,
We
we need,
know what
okay,
that
stop.
is.
Stop. We need order because it's driving me crazy.
Okay, I'm gonna explain this.
Please do.
There's 6 for
Okay, and I don't need a
$900.
computer to do it. The other costs on this chart
It's 15.
is $900 more
Yep.
than the 600 on this chart. And that's why this chart adds up to $85,900. Okay, that's second grade math.
Right.
So what I don't know is,
What's
what
in the
is
budget?
the approved budget that you submitted? Or what, do you submit a budget for 85,000?
Yes, we did.
Okay, so we know that it should be 85,000.
Yes.
Okay, so that's right. So I would suggest, the first thing is on here with, it
That
says the
reflects the additional
1,500,
money that
that
we this year.
other costs be $600.
We don't know at this time, without a copy of what we submitted, exactly in which category.
Okay,
the numbers are.
I want to
We'll
clarify.
get to that part.
This is an assembly committee meeting. Therefore, we will have decorum. And so please, let's just get through this. Julia, please continue.
Okay, so the piece that is missing to know if we have a contract, because to have a contract, you can't have mutual mistake, you can't have a whole bunch of other things. You have to meet the
Has to be
4
agreed upon.
requirements of contract. And so the piece that I hear that is missing is something that the clerk's office may be able to find for us. We don't have to stop now to do it, but that would be a copy of the budget as submitted.
Which I think Daryl may be going to find.
I'll see if Elizabeth is there.
Okay. And so I think that in terms of what we
Dick
do
knows
know
what
is
it
that
is.
they submitted a budget for 85,000. What they're saying is that they don't have a way to know if the spread
Okay.
is
Let's-
reflected, yeah.
Okay.
And so, but let's
Sorry.
pass on that
Let's
for
go
for
back
a
to-
minute,
yep.
since we at least got the 85,000 confirmed.
Okay.
And get the rest of it around that
Right.
done, okay?
So let's go back. We left off on item D where we had changed January
Right, and we
7th.
need the scribe to be here for that.
Yeah,
Because if we can I have a change for that.
You do have a new change?
I do,
Okay.
I do.
Let's take a 5-minute at ease. So
We call
anybody-
those health and welfare.
Yeah.
See if I don't believe the clerk can take it up.
Yeah, perfectly. Party time,
Yeah.
We're making this
as
much
opposed to
harder
party
than
time.
it ought to be.
Yeah,
I mean, we approved a budget and they've got.
we did, and I think sometimes, especially when you have side discussions, it makes it challenging.
Very challenging.
But we'll get there.
A piece of
Did you
good
talk to
information.
Cher or
Yeah.
she sent?
Yes, I
you-
did. I'd like to share some thoughts on that
Yeah,
issue
what
with
what I'm
you.
trying to do is
In
put
New
together
York.
some
By
packets
the
on
way,
various things.
I understand. I'd like to share the thoughts on that.
Right now.
Everybody on the,
Chilly.
all the.
Whatever you
all
have
the
that
commentators and stuff, even
shows
on the funny
support
news
is
are making-
appropriate.
Well, and of course, he was raised here, but he,
But the state of the art of the winter clothing there doesn't really fit.
see, he
for
has
us
all
here.
his Carhartts.
Yeah,
He's an
he's-
Alaskan kid.
Yeah.
But yeah, zero, and with a wind chill, he says it's way below zero.
Oh my goodness. I bet so. Well, I heard Chicago was pretty cold too.
Oh, with the game?
Yeah.
I didn't watch, but
I
yeah, it was
didn't-
like 12 or 15 below.
And then we would be able to move forward and just sort of have that in the parking lot.
Okay, we're gonna give Mr. Tremaine one more minute, and then we'll start again at 10:15.
Let's go over the stuff that he's concerned about right now, and then we'll pick up when we get back.
I'm telling you, I'm going to an FCC board meeting. I think it'll be entertaining. It's like watching an assembly meeting.
Assembly meetings are
But I think
entertaining
probably
enough.
a little bit more electric.
When I had a job driving a garbage truck, I got to be the bouncer at the Christmas party. You want to talk about controlling an
Well-
event, that was fun.
I think if you were to inject alcohol into an assembly meeting, you might have an interesting.
Yeah.
I wouldn't advise it.
You're talking about the assembly members, because I know personally from being in the audience, there are people that come well oiled. And I know that's no surprise to you guys.
I would say it's probably not a good idea to mix alcohol with legislation.
Not usually.
I don't know. Seems to work on the federal level.
Okay, we are back on. We're back on the record. It's 10:15. This is an assembly community council meeting. Chairman Trainee had to excuse himself for another event he had to be at. I'm here with Mr. Steele, so we still have a quorum. And we are continuing on with item I, page 7, Madam Clerk.
Develop an annual budget.
Okay, can we go back? I had a change on D.
Yes,
that I mentioned
Ms.
to you.
Tucker. I'm sorry, I forgot that.
And so, Amanda, while you were out of the room, I think that where it says provide an end of year, should put the word annual report in there so that know that we're talking about all the same reports.
End of year.
Annual, add the word
Annual,
annual
right.
report, end of year annual report.
Oh, so you're adding it, not substituting.
Mr. Steele, do you concur with that?
Sure. All we're doing is being more specific.
As I do.
I have a question,
Mr. Hess?
Madam Chair. Could we put some language in there that states that a compilation of the quarterly reports along with any additional information, including the annual staff evaluation, would suffice for the annual report?
No,
Well, I think it
we
says
just say
here,
that.
including narrative summary of activities, status of employee evaluations, financial summary report with complete accounting transaction records, referred to Appendix A. So, I mean, I think they have,
So,
Madam Chair.
Just a moment. Are you done, Julia?
that's what I'm.
All right, go ahead.
Darryl, were you referring to a copy of the staff evaluation, personnel?
Well, no, it requires the date that it was completed. So
Should say status.
So rather than going through, to me, the information that's requested, other than the date of the evaluation, if you look at the appendix on the two forms, the quarterly and annual report forms, it requests the same information. So to me, a compilation, if you submitted copies of the quarterly reports at the end of the year and said, here's our annual report, here's when the staff evaluation was done, and possibly the final, financial sheet, that should suffice as
An
an
Excel
annual
file
report.
with a separate
Yeah, and it
column.
seems like it would be a lot easier for the Federation than to have to go through and re-add everything up, and because the information's the same.
Ms. Tucker, comments?
I think that is, I'm not in a position to judge whether that is what was in mind when it says on page, in that D where it says the financial summary report.
that doesn't preclude it from being an Excel spreadsheet. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think it's good. I agree with Daryl that at some place in this
Mhm.
contract, we should figure out exactly what that is gonna be. If that, and I agree with him, that it seems like if all the annual compilation is those 4 reports going through, we should do that. But this is my first exposure to this, and so although I think that it needs to happen, I can't verify that this is what the clerk had in mind when she drafted this and talked to the chair of the assembly or whatever. I don't know how this compares. Is this the same or similar to what you had in last year's contract?
Is this what you do normally?
On HD.
Mr. Butler?
Yes, ma'am. Besides the change in the date, of course.
Yes.
It appears to be the same exact sentence, same exact sentences or paragraph, as is in the existing contract.
Ms.
for
Tucker,
2015.
would you have any recommendations where it would be the best place to put the information?
Well, I think the best place, I think this is a really good place to put it. I just think that if Amanda doesn't have any more, I mean, somebody needs to commit on behalf of the clerk's office who administrates the contract, that's what is, that they're happy with. And so, I wouldn't be that person. I'm just sort of trying to make sure that the document reflects what both parties are saying, because I think that all those things need to be out on the table. You have a good contract when everybody really knows what it is that they're responsible to
Okay.
do, so.
Mr. Hess, and then I want to hear from Amanda.
I think, what I'm talking about as far as the compilation of the quarterly reports would actually be to satisfy the requirements for the narrative summary, because those reports talk about the number of emails sent out and the activities. So I think those quarterly reports would satisfy for the annual report the narrative summary of activities. Now, the status of employee evaluations, the financial summary report with complete accounting and transaction, those would be separate for the annual report. So you would have your final annual financial form here submitted. The status of your employee evaluation, but for the narrative summary, rather than going through and rewriting all of that information.
Daryl, do you have recommended language for this section to kind of formulate it into what you're envisioning?
Well, you could say, it's pretty.
I can do that.
Yeah.
I can put, I'll, after it says refer to Appendix A,
Mm-hmm.
then before if requested,
Mhm.
we'll put, we could put something like, grantee, may do, I'll figure it out. And then I'll come back to you before we finish with the meeting. But I think that that's where we go, and it would be, the idea would be that it wouldn't be these words, but at grantee's discretion, they may, I guess, resubmit the 4 quarterly reports as in place of a separate narrative summary. Is that what you're
Yes.
thinking? Yeah.
Yes.
Al?
The accountant provides a complete annual report, financially. So, and that's pretty easy to do. They provide a quarterly report and they provide monthly reports. The quarterlies are a summary of every transaction, of every account, grant accounts or whatever. So that's pretty easy, to do. So here's a copy of the financial report. It should have a list, I believe in most cases does, a list of all tenders, how much they're paid, who to, all of that information.
This is all that the Federation has to submit to the clerk's office for their financial
Yeah.
report.
Mr. Butler?
And of course, we have to have all the existing backup information so that it's
Right.
fully available to the assembly, to the internal audit, and so forth.
But you don't submit it, you just
That's
submit the
correct.
form.
You are correct, Mr. Hack.
Okay, we're gonna put HD aside for the moment, and we will come back to that afterwards.
Okay, and then I also have another, change, just in terms of formatting.
Okay.
That all of, when you have a letter, like a large letter H,
You should have a one.
then,
Yeah, one,
then all the
yeah.
little subs
Should
should
be
be in numbers.
numerical.
And so that is,
Just form.
here in H, and I haven't checked, it's the first time I've seen it, but it's hard, just like we were saying in paragraph H, A, I mean, it's better to do H1.
Mr. Steele, do you concur to direct Assembly Council to?
It's not my
um,
form. I don't have the
Whose
form.
form is this?
I'll do it.
The clerk, to go ahead and renumber those from
Sure.
alpha
That's
to
fine.
numeric.
Yeah, make it work.
Okay. So
For
we're,
some-
And can I do it throughout the document, please?
yes,
Yeah.
please. Thank you.
Good job, man.
Okay, the clerk had read develop it, excuse me, if you would like to speak from
I
Go
was just
Holland.
briefing him of what he meant.
Okay, well, we're gonna go back
Nothing,
to
in the same
item,
place.
Mr. Tremaine, throughout the document where you have alpha, we've directed the clerk to go alpha numeric. Additionally, we've had some discussion on item D, which Assembly Council is going to rework some of the wording and come back to us at the end of the meeting and discuss this paragraph, so we will come back to it.
And we've inserted the word annual between year, end of
Year
year
and
and
report.
report.
Okay, so,
And change the date to January.
is there any comment on item I, develop an annual budget? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, item J?
Between January 1st, 2014 and September 30th, that should be a comma, 2014, develop a budget for the following year, January through December 2015.
Continue.
Changed to number 1. By October 1st, 2014, submit a proposed budget for the following year, 2015, to the municipal clerk's office. The agreement between the municipality and the grantee will be based on the accepted annual 2015 budget. The budget may be submitted with a cover letter requesting initiation of the grant renewal for the next year.
Is there any comments on J or J1?
Yes, on JA,
Mhm.
I would say the budget shall be submitted with a cover letter.
Is there any other comments to Mr. Tmaney's proposed change? Mr. Steele?
That's fine.
Okay.
Number 2, grantee shall request funds in such a written request form and manner as is satisfactory to or required by the municipality.
Are there any comments on J2? Seeing none?
Section 8, assignments and subcontracts. A, unless otherwise allowed in writing by municipality, any assignment by a grantee of its interest in any part of this grant or any delegation of duties under this agreement shall be void, and any attempt by the grantee to assign any part of its interest or delegate duties under this agreement shall give municipality the right to immediately terminate this agreement without any liability for any actions performed by grantee.
Are there any comments on Section A, item A? Seeing none?
B, grantee may enter into subcontracts to purchase goods and services necessary to its performance under this agreement, comma, provided that grantee and subcontractor comply with the requirements of this section.
Any comments? Continue.
C, every subcontract shall be in writing and contain a precise description of the services or goods to be provided and the nature of the consideration paid therefor. Municipalities shall be provided with a copy of every subcontract in an amount exceeding $1,500 on a quarterly basis and shall be provided with a copy of any subcontract upon request.
Are there any comments to Section C? Mr. Steele?
Let me see, we're talking about a contract with somebody. It may or may not have been expended, but, yeah, but reported in the full. I mean, you have to do that with a contract. Anyway, I was just talking about it. It's
Okay.
fine, I think.
Okay.
D, every subcontract in the amount exceeding $1,500 shall require retention of and reasonable access to business records of the subcontractor relating to the purchase of goods or service under the subcontract.
Seeing no comment?
E, grantee shall include the provisions of section on non-discrimination in every subcontract so as to be binding upon every such subcontractor of grantee under this grant agreement.
Are there any comments on this particular Mr. Hester
You know,
or
the
Mrs.
size
Tucker?
of, the size of the contracts we're talking about here, we're asking an awful lot of subcontractors and contractors to open up their records and, anyway, but that's okay, I guess.
Just from a different chair, sitting on the Equal Rights Commission, I certainly like.
That's right, I forgot you were on the Equal Rights Commission. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry.
So,
That's why I pointed to Daryl, and because I recognize that would be. But
Mhm.
Mr. Churchill, you have no other comments on that comment on
I
section?
think it's a great one.
Okay.
Section 9, relationship of parties. Grantee shall perform its obligations herein as an independent group or organization. Municipality may administer the grant and monitor grantee's compliance with its obligations hereunder. Municipality shall not supervise or direct grantee other than as provided in this agreement. Both parties agree that funds provided hereunder are in the nature of a grant and do not constitute a contract for the purpose of supplies, service, or other consideration to municipality. Municipality shall provide grantee with municipal directories and public information as appropriate upon written request to administrator.
Are there any comments on that section 9?
I like a municipal
Okay.
directory.
Oh, sorry. Ms. Tucker, then Mr. Steele.
I just said I'd like a municipal directory too. I've been trying since I got on to get a phone book.
I will find you a phone book. Ms. Tucker?
I think that we should alpha and have 3 paragraphs, and the third paragraph should start with the municipal directory paragraph. So A is grantee shall perform, B is both parties agree, and C is municipality shall provide.
Okay. And just a question under item, what would be the new numeric B? Both parties agree that the funds provided hereunder are in the nature of the grant and do not constitute a contract for the purpose of supplies, services, or other consideration to the municipality. Insert the word the.
I think that why it's not there,
Sounds weird, I don't know, maybe there's a
Well-
contractual reason.
I believe that in the beginning of the contract, the FCC is called grantee, the municipality of Acreage is called municipality.
Oh,
And
okay.
so it's an
Not wrong.
abbreviation.
Okay.
So there's no the.
So we
don't want to
can
have to
leave
put
the word,
the
let's leave the word
in
out.
front of
Nope,
every
nope, it's just the first time I noticed it.
Do you
Okay.
want English or do you want contract?
Let's go contract language.
Section-
Are there any questions on A, B, or C, or comments? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Section 10, permits, laws, and taxes. Grantees shall acquire and maintain in good standing all permits, licenses, and other entitlements necessary to its performance under this agreement. All actions taken by grantee under this agreement shall comply with all applicable statutes, ordinances, rules, and regulations. Grantee shall pay all taxes pertaining to its performance under this agreement. Do you want to alpha that section?
No, I think you only have to worry about the alpha when you have
Multiple.
multiple sections.
Section 11, non-waiver and severability. Severability?
You got it.
It could be
That means where
severe.
you could, yeah.
Can you cut
That
it
means
out?
where you could-
Depends who's on the receiving end.
Where you could chop off different paragraphs, you sever them.
Okay. The failure of the municipality at any time to enforce a provision of this agreement shall in no way constitute a waiver of the provision, nor in any way affect the validity of this agreement or any part hereof, or the right of the municipality thereafter to enforce each and every provision hereof. B. Any provision of this agreement decreed invalid by a court of competent jurisdiction shall not invalidate the remaining provisions of the agreement.
Ms. Tucker, any comments on those sections?
Please.
No, yeah, I would take out all the here-ups and here-unders, but it's not, maybe not worth our time today. to
Yeah,
do.
let's move on past that. Section 12.
Indemnity?
Indemnity.
Indemnity. Phonics. Guarantee shall indemnify, defend, save, and hold municipality harmless from any and all claims, lawsuits, or liability, including attorney's fees and costs allegedly arising out of, in connection with, or incident to any loss, damage, or injury to persons or property of or from any wrongful, or neglect, act, error, or omission of grantee occurring during the course of or as a result of grantees or any subcontractor's performance pursuant to this agreement.
Are there any questions? Seeing none?
Let's do
Section 13, insurance. Grantee shall maintain in good standing the insurance noted and described in subsection B of this section. Before rendering any services under this agreement, grantee shall furnish Anchorage with proof of insurance in the accordance with subsection B of this section and in form acceptable to municipality. Should that be municipality? Should furnish municipality instead of should furnish Anchorage?
Yes. If we're gonna be paying those ten, but it's
That's good catch,
equal.
Amanda.
Community.
Grantee shall
But
provide.
in a form, sorry.
Can you restate this sentence, please, Ms. Tucker?
So I'm gonna pick it up after the comma.
Uh-huh.
Grantee shall furnish municipality with proof of insurance in accordance with subsection B of this section and in a form acceptable to municipality.
Good.
B. Grantee shall provide the following insurance: workers' compensation and employers' liability coverages required by Alaska statutes, commercial general liability, including contractual and personal injury coverage, $500,000 per occurrence.
I have one question to ask on this, is that a number of years ago, probably 3-4 years ago, there was a requirement from the community for also, for automobile insurance, because the manager travels a lot in his own personal vehicle. And so the concerns is that if he's in an accident and there's no evidence of any insurance being indemnifying the federation, I think there needs to be a requirement in here also that if, say for example, a manager uses his vehicle, then he shall provide proof of insurance to the corporation. That protects the muni, I think, also, because at that time, his management had requested that be in there.
Julia?
We just say he has to have it. You guys have to your satisfaction, prove that you're
But
employed.
legally in this contract, I want to see what Julia thinks about the municipality.
I think we
We
should
said we
check
need
that
it.
out, because there's some concerns about that.
Oh, I guess we didn't say
I
all.
think that one, I think that it's a very good idea in your employment contract with
We
however
don't
the
have an
FCC
employment, we don't have an employment contract with the manager. He's an at-will employee. It's an at-will position.
Well,
So you don't have any requirements on your employee that he, I mean, so the problem I see, if I understand your suggestion, it was in the contract someplace, and this may be a place to put it, or it may go in a different section, but it would be that the requirement be that somebody have insurance if the manager uses his own vehicle.
Well,
And who is it, can you restate who it is that you thought should have insurance?
Well, I think any employee that uses their own vehicle should provide proof of insurance. Or
Okay, and
the,
so I agree, and so I think that even if you don't have an employment contract, when you hire somebody, like here at the meeting, one of the requirements that you can have is that they submit to you, to FCC, a copy of the insurance, and that they agree that that insurance is gonna be maintained.
and will be an aid,
Yeah, and
Right.
do that.
Right.
And so, but if putting it here isn't gonna help us if you don't do it down line. So you have to have, the bottom part has to be that's in there.
It has to
that
be
the-
both places, is
that
what
the-
you're saying.
Well, it has to at least be that place.
Yeah.
Then, I'm not sure it would go in our insurance section. It would go back to that list of things that we had as requirements.
Madam Chair, I know the Assembly is not used to doing contracts. This is obvious from this meeting. But is it common practice to require that?
First, I just want to
100.
clarify, Mr. Tremaine, we are used to doing, we see a lot of contracts.
Do you
So,
normally invite the parties to the other side of the contract to the meeting?
I have
We
to
usually
tell,
dictate the
I have to tell you that a lot of it happens within purchasing, which I'm sure you're well aware. I think it's unfair to characterize some of your statements as far as, I found out about this meeting last night, so, you know, first time I'm reading it. So as we
No,
move
to the
forward,
point- To the point, I
So what
don't
is
think
the
it's
point?
common practice to require this. I think it's good business practice. But, and it's good to be encouraged, and it's required by law.
We just want to be
that
held
it's-
harmless.
Well, I think
by
that
anything
that
that's-
anytime, and I guess,
It's a state law that you have insurance on your vehicle, right?
That is
okay,
correct.
it's not, but it's
If
not
you allow
state.
them to use their vehicle in the course of business.
Miss Tucker,
Madam Chair.
just wait, Mr.
Why don't we hear
Hasselborn.
from Mark?
Okay,
Thank you. Al was right that we had 3 years ago a contract with an insurance company to cover any employee use of their vehicle while working. We continue to have that same kind of insurance at this time. We pay $26 a quarter or half
I
a year.
don't know,
something
Mark,
like that.
because I haven't seen any checks been paid out to the agent, you know, for that aspect. So at the last time I checked, the only thing that we had was the liability insurance and all those things. So if we do have it, by what you say, then that's fine. We'll take your word for it.
Miss
Well, I will
Tucker.
go home and check it at the direction of the chair.
Miss Tucker.
Okay, so
would it-
here's what I think.
Okay. go ahead.
I think that risk management is one of the key, most important elements of any contract, whether it's good business practice or it's boilerplate. And so I think that we want to work in where we put that. And I think that we had a page that we looked at before about certain requirements. And I think that would be the place that we would put, that they would maintain insurance to cover employee use of the vehicle. Because as Al talked about, even though, and my reluctance to put it in here is that we have, what Dick has talked about here is, we sort of have a dichotomy that we have a grant agreement that we're doing risk management as if it was a contract, among other things, as if it was a contract. And on the other hand, the Department of Law wants very much not to have FCCB a contractor per se. And so we wanted to sort of put that in the requirement over there and not in the insurance requirements here is what I think.
Okay, what I'm thinking we're gonna do, I know this is time sensitive and we'll have to see what Mr. Steele thinks, but with this issue, what I think I'm hearing you saying is you'd like to confer a little bit with risk management.
No, we don't have to confer with risk management. Risk management, excuse me, I wasn't talking about the department.
That's what I thought, I was
Yeah, risk
confused.
management is your indemnity, your insurance, all the contractual provisions of a contract between two parties that manages and spreads the risk of doing the business.
Yeah, I get that, I was confused, I was trying
No
to
worries.
clarify what you meant.
I'll
Okay,
just put together.
so where, if you think
So
we
we
can
had
deal with
it,
this.
we
in
had
time.
it, yeah, so I think we'll deal with it today, and I think that it's in a different section or appendices that we talked about earlier. We had sort of a list of requirements. You wanted to hear what Tim had to say?
Yes.
It just seems to me that we're saying that they have to carry general liability and personal injury insurance. So aren't we covered?
I think what Al was talking about is, as if I understood Al, there was a gap because generally commercial general liability insurance and personal injury insurance that is listed here doesn't include automobile insurance.
Well, but isn't that their risk, not ours? If their employee is using it for business?
General liability is primarily if you get sued or if you do damages to somebody, all those things. And so I guess what our concerns are is that what if an employee is driving down, he gets in an accident and he's at fault? Okay. Workers' comp is gonna cover the employee. But the other party that's injured,
But we gave a grant.
right?
Does our liability extend to those grantees?
And that's a question for Ms.
And that's a problem, for the reasons that Dick had.
We don't have it.
Tremaine had talked about, is that we want to characterize this as a grant, we want to say it's a grant, but if a person is injured in that situation, you can count on the municipality.
Going for big pockets and
being-
say they're an employee at the
Absolutely.
municipality.
Okay, I'm gonna go to
Absolutely.
Mr. Churchill once Ms. Tucker's done.
Yeah, what I hear Al saying and how I sort of feel about it, I'd just like to see that specifically put in to help, because we have a turnover, we have change, to help us
In the
look at it and go, oh my
implementation.
God, you know, the grant says we should have this to protect whoever our manager is as well as ourselves. And I just like to see it added for that purpose, if nothing else.
Julia, I mean, we're still talking about insurance. I guess I'm not clear as to why we can't just put another bullet in under the commercial general liability to acknowledge that the FCC carry insurance that would cover anybody traveling in their personal.
Because I don't want to invite lawsuits.
The less this
And
looks
so-
like a
and s-
grant and the more it looks like a contract for greater the municipality.
And what you're saying is by
Is
putting.
we had another, and I'm just not able to locate here, but there's someplace else where we made a modification this morning already that said, that had to do with something that they were gonna, okay, submit a monthly, okay. So, in this, on page 7. So that was all reporting and audits. And so, what I'd like to do is think about if there's a place here. I already have, when we get back to this, I already have the language that we're gonna put in, that I would suggest we put in about that other grantee thing. And that there would be something here where they send, they have an obligation here.
Okay.
And I just want to think about that
Okay.
before, and it may be that it should go in under insurance, but
Okay, Mr. Tremaine.
I like to think about
And then we're
it.
gonna let you think about it. We'll add that to the list of what we'll come
Yeah.
back to.
Under the provisions of state grants, of which the Federation administrates state grants, there is a requirement. Vehicle liability. AS 2189 requires that all vehicle owners must maintain at least a minimum of insurance coverage against loss from damages arising of the ownership or use of the vehicle. Now, we could put that language in there, that the owner of the vehicle shall provide that coverage. But someplace, there's a window there that we're responsible for.
And I agree with you.
And I think that we need to have something in there, either the corporation purchase the policy, or the individuals provide proof of insurance.
All employees and boards of directors and everybody has to.
No, this is only for
applies
the,
to-
Paid employees is what you're saying?
they already have, officers and directors. at the
That
buildings.
includes automobile liability?
And this is for the administration of grants. So I'm just saying that believe me, I work on a lot of civil cases, and I see what
I
happens out
am with
there.
you, and I thank you, and I
And
think
I
there
tell
are all
you-
kinds of reasons
Let
why
me
it should
tell
be there.
you, we see cases for millions and millions of dollars where there's a loophole out there. And I don't think we want to
I mean,
Those
Charlie's needs some
Not that it might ever happen.
insurance.
The fact if it does,
No, I think this is a good loophole that you've identified, and I think Julia will work on the language. Okay, so we're gonna move on.
Should those bullet points be numbers or just they're okay as
I
bullet
think they're
points?
okay as bullets on here, thank you.
Okay,
We're on page 10.
we are on page 10 of 24, item C.
Item C, any policy of insurance required by this section shall name the municipality of Anchorage as an additional insured and shall provide for no less than 30 days advance notice to the municipality prior to cancellation. To municipality prior to cancellation.
Okay,
So,
second.
I have a question for Mark.
Go ahead.
Mark, are these provisions that we've been going over in insurance, have they been in the prior contracts?
I have a prior contract, yes.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, most of this portion that we're now in is pretty much the boilerplate that we've had for a number of years,
Okay.
not just the previous year, but before that as well,
Okay,
except for the concurrent.
thank you.
Section 14, jurisdiction choice of law. Any civil action arising from this agreement shall be brought in the Superior Court, 3rd Judicial District for the State of Alaska at municipality. The law of the State of Alaska shall govern the rights and duties of the parties under this agreement. Section 15, integration. Excuse me. This agreement and any writings incorporated by reference herein embody the entire agreement of the parties. This agreement shall supersede all previous communications, representations, or agreements, whether oral or written, between the parties hereto. Section 16, non-discrimination. In performing its duties under this agreement, neither party will discriminate against any person on the basis of race, color, religion, national origin, age, sex, national origin. Seems to be
Repetition.
twice.
Very clear about
That must be
national
important.
origin. Very clear.
Can I delete that
Yes,
second one?
please do.
Is there something missing?
Mental or physical disability or marital status.
And that was in the previous one twice as well.
Grantee will comply with all laws concerning the prohibition of discrimination, including but not limited to Title V and Title VII of the Anchorage Municipal Code. Section 17, notices. Any notice required under this agreement shall be given in writing and transmitted by personal delivery or prepaid first class registered or certified mail addressed as follows. Municipality. Municipality of Anchorage, Municipal Clerk's Office, 632 West 6th Avenue, Suite 250, Anchorage, Alaska, 99501, 907-343-4311. Grantee or Chair. Federation of Community Councils, INC. 1057 West Fireweed Lane, Suite 100, Anchorage, AK 99503, 907-277-1977. Section 18, Amendment. This agreement shall be amended, modified, or changed in writing, executed by authorized representatives of the parties with the same formality as this agreement was executed, and such writing shall be attached to this agreement. Any attempt to amend, modify, or change this agreement by either an unauthorized representative or an unauthorized means shall be void. C. Grantee understands that after a determination by municipality that a violation of this prohibition has occurred, it shall result in forfeiture of all unexpended funds for the year in which the violation occurs and ineligibility for any municipal funds for the immediately following fiscal year.
Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments on page 10? Okay.
Section 19. Prohibition on endorsement of candidates. Grantee agrees that it shall not expend any municipal funds for the support, opposition, or endorsement of candidates for any state or municipal office, and that it shall not endorse or oppose candidates for state or municipal office, even if such endorsement or opposition does not require expenditure of funds. Grantee understands that after a determination by a municipality that if a violation of this prohibition has occurred, it shall result in forfeiture of all unexpended funds for the year in which the violation occurs and ineligibility for any municipal funds for the immediately following fiscal year.
That's tough.
Julia, is there a reason that we would limit it to state or municipal office and not just say elected public office?
Because it doesn't preclude your federal candidates, is that what?
Yeah, or,
Right, I think
I'm
that
just,
would be in there.
I'm just curious.
Oh, I like
Or
that.
judicial.
Sure.
Or judicial.
Or judicial.
Yeah.
Sign the elected office?
Elected
Well,
public
wait, let's be
office.
careful.
Or are we talking about?
That's right, you guys are allowed to do it.
Community councils, we're talking about road boards, we're talking about judicial retention.
You have
So we're
another?
talking
Well,
about publicly
okay,
elected office?
Okay, stop for a
Julia?
second. One thing is, the word partisan should be removed. Partisan means you have two parties or more. Partisan means
Right.
that the only prohibition is against non-municipal elections, because
Because we're nonpartisan.
municipality is
No.
non-partisan. So that's the first thing in section 20 on that, where it says, there shall be.
Oh, we're not 20.
Oh, I'm
We're
sorry.
in section 19, prohibition of endorsement of candidates.
Okay, excuse me.
No worries. Just,
It's like, I don't remember
Grant
seeing
Anderson.
partisan.
Okay, so what we were discussing, was the first sentence where it says, second line, or endorsement of candidates for any state or municipal office, and that it shall not, blah, blah, blah. So did the phrase state or municipal office, the discussion has now become, are we limiting it to those two things, or should federal office or judge retention also be considered?
I like the language they have in section 20 about to further the election or defeat of any candidate for public, political, or party office.
Mm.
That
What do you
kind-
think, Joey?
I like that, that's where I went, I'm sorry, I just think that.
I like the language too. I
Yes.
agree with Amanda.
Mm.
If
So-
we could pop that up into 19.
So
Okay.
just, yeah.
So, or endorsement of candidates for public, political, or party office. So the words for any state or municipal office would be deleted, and that phrase public, political, or party office substituted.
So
Mr.
you
Steele?
actually could eliminate
Public.
section 19 and slip section 20 up there.
Mhm.
Not really.
Well, I think that you got political activity, and then you have a second thing, is that they
Okay.
can't expend any municipal funds.
Right. Okay.
So-
And so, but I think that they can be combined, so, and, so you'd end up with just one section here.
Why don't we work section 20 into section 19?
I wasn't proposing combine it, I was just saying to take the language instead of the state or municipal office and put public, political, or party office.
Okay, Mr. Steele, since this is an assembly committee
Oh,
meeting,
I don't know. 6.5 doesn't. I mean, I know what they're trying to do. They're just trying to say,
FCC's
don't
not
use
supposed
grant
to-
money to. Oh, well, it's more than that though. In 19, it's the individual's money. They can't endorse or oppose.
Yeah, you're right,
That's-
yeah.
So that's taking away their
Wait,
civil
wait, wait,
rights.
wait, wait.
Why did we have
Where
the
does it
attorney
say-
No, the
work
grantee
on
is the
that
federation.
back to us?
Where does it say that it's the individual's money?
Let's,
Division.
let,
I'm sorry.
No.
let's just stop for a
Well-
second. We're on section 19. I want to deal with the second sentence.
Okay.
So the proposed change is to change it from for any state or municipal office to, quote, public, political, or party office, end quote. Julia, do you see any problem with that change?
No,
Mr. Steele, would you be okay with that change?
So they can't give to the Democratic Party or the
They don't,
Republican
yeah.
Party.
No.
they can't use any municipal funds.
No, I know it.
We're there, so
But
grantee.
I don't think
so
it's,
just start.
shall not expend any municipal funds.
Grantee is the federation, not the individuals.
yeah, I think that maybe that's.
I don't know.
I don't see-
6.5 doesn't.
I would like to hear from the Federation to see if they're supportive of that change.
Yes.
Okay?
Yep.
Mr. Churchill?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. I would appreciate it if the
Read it
clerk
one-
would
read it
change
one more
that.
time. Read it one more
The sentence in its totality, with
Grantee,
the change.
Grantee agrees that it shall not expend any municipal funds for the support, opposition, or endorsement of candidates for public, political, or party office, and that it shall not endorse or oppose candidates for state or municipal, do you want me to?
The same change.
The same change. For public, political, or party office, even if such an endorsement or opposition does not require expenditure of funds.
Okay. And as I look around the room, everyone looks agreeable to that change, so the clerk will incorporate that into the contract.
And you're still leaving, although you didn't read out loud, the word any for any
Yes.
in line 2, Amanda.
Okay.
Thank
But
you for that.
there should be not, there's not any in line 3, should I add it, or it doesn't?
I think it's redundant in line 3, but you want to
Yeah.
keep it in
Okay.
line 2.
Okay.
Very good. Okay, section 20.
Political activity. There shall not be any partisan political activity or any activity to further the election or defeat of any candidate for public, political, or party office as part of or in connection with this grant, nor shall any of the grant funds be used for such purposes.
That's good wording.
Okay, but you took out partisan.
Mhm.
You want, okay.
What does
Yeah.
political mean? What's the definition of the word?
Here's a politician, Dick, tell
It's
us.
it's a rhetorical question. The Black's Law Dictionary should define it for us, and I think we don't want to leave it without an adjective in front of it.
Julia, that's your territory. You want to comment?
Well, the adjective can't be partisan for the reason.
I'm
So
okay
you
with
have
that,
a
but
su-
political is the wrong word.
Okay, so do you have a suggestion?
No, partisan was okay with me, but I understand your concern.
Yeah, political activities are pretty broad.
But political is a broadly defined word.
So
It's not in common usage, but it is.
partisan political, in my mind, would say Republican or Democrat.
Well, that's
Green
exactly
or
what it
green
means,
or
but that's
whatever.
not what, they don't want.
And so, what is your proposed change, Mr. Tremaine? Or do you have one?
What about, Dick, what about just going to, taking out the political activity, there shall not be any activity to further the election.
That
Okay.
works.
And then I have a change back up on the second part. Amanda read the first part of 19. And so the last sentence of 19 has too many words in it.
Okay.
And so at your pleasure, we can go back to that, but we sort of.
Okay, let's finish
dropped.
section 20 and then we'll go back to section 19. Are there any, so, Madam Clerk, could you reread that first sentence?
There shall not be any activity to further the election or defeat of any candidate for public, political, or party office as part of or in connection with this grant, nor shall any of the grant funds be used for such purposes.
Does anyone have any comments on that?
I have one.
Go ahead.
So, candidate, but is it okay to support bond issues or other ballot issues that are not candidates?
Section 21 covers that.
It's the
Okay,
next section.
sorry, I didn't even look for it.
Okay, and I just want to point out to Mr. Steele that if you look at the red line version of this, they had struck the sentence, "To that end, grantee must clearly state all communications distributed by the Federation of Community Councils that the materials are being sent on behalf of the individual council and not the Federation of Community Councils." So they struck
I
that.
think that.
Because that relates to ballot measures, not to political candidates. Because we're not going to send anything about political candidates.
Yeah. I just wanted to point out because it was.
Is a member of a utility board a political candidate?
Yes. That's, utility board is a public office.
So it comes under public down here.
Good question.
Except the utility board, like if you're running for
Chief.
Sugarhash, electorate, as a board member, you're not elected by the general public, you're elected by the members of that co-op.
That's a good point. I think we got to.
Anyway,
We
we're
got to
getting
pipeline from
obscure.
everything at some point, and, but I agree with you. There's loopholes.
Oh, Lord. Okay, Julia, let's
Mark
go back.
had a question.
That's
Oh,
okay,
sorry,
okay,
I didn't,
thank you.
I didn't see your hand. Sorry.
I'll move over here a little bit, thank you.
Okay. You didn't have anything, Mr. Butler?
No, ma'am.
Okay, Julia, back up to section 19. I believe it was the second sentence you had a question about? Or wanted to read?
Right, so grantee understands that after determination by municipality that if a violation, I don't understand what's going on there. Grantee understands that after
So if
a
the,
determination by municipality that, take out if, that a violation of this prohibition has occurred, comma, the violation, instead of it, I don't
We're gonna take your money,
have any
basically.
understanding where. So is this something that was in your contract already?
Yes.
Let me check, ma'am. Yes, I believe it's word for word exactly the same as in the current.
Okay, well, over the
2013
years, some
contract.
things must have popped in there because it's not, I don't know what it means. So maybe you guys can tell me.
the way I read it as if the municipality determines there has been a violation, it shall result in a forfeiture of all
What's
unexpected.
it? The municipality, the FCC, or the violation?
Violation of the
Let's put
probation-
the violation,
prohibition.
put the word in instead of the it. And I like the way that you phrased it. Instead of grantee understands, just put it in there.
Violation of this prohibition shall result in.
Yeah, well, she read it's picking up with, if the municipality determines a violation has occurred, the violation shall result in forfeiture.
Not the word the though, right? If municipality determines a violation of this prohibition has occurred.
The violation shall result in forfeiture of all unexpended funds for the year in which the violation.
Occurs. And ineligibility for any municipal funds for the immediate following fiscal year.
Yeah.
So you gotta give what you got and you're not getting any more.
Can I
For the next
read
year.
what I got?
Yes, please.
Grantee understands that after a, that
No, I would
Sorry.
Strike
strike
grantee
grantee and start the sentence with the word if.
if
If
municipality determines that a violation of this prohibition has occurred,
Scratch that.
Yeah, there's no need for the word that. So can I read it to you? If municipality determines a violation of this prohibition has occurred, comma, the violation result in do I need a comma there?
Shall, yeah, comma.
The violation shall result in forfeiture of all unexpended funds for the year, yada, yada.
okay, I got it.
Okay, any other comments on that section? Seeing none, section 21, ballot measures.
By law, community councils exist to allow citizens to discuss and advocate on on public policy issues that affect their region of the municipality. While grantee supports community council functions, the grantee is also a separate legal entity that receives municipal funds and is subject to state and federal campaign laws. Grantee shall not advocate for local or state ballot measures. However, it is not a violation of this agreement for the grantee to assist, that needs a space, a community council in disseminating information concerning measures on which that that council has formally established a position. To that end, grantee must clearly state on all such communications distributed by the Federation of Community Councils that the materials are being sent on behalf of the individual community council and not the Federation of Community Councils.
So what about forums held by community councils?
Again, we moved this because it's related specifically to ballot measures. We're not doing candidates. So if it's ballot, for instance, yeah,
Bonds and road bonds and
exactly.
so.
Julia, do you have any comments on this section?
No.
Before, I'm looking back at section 19, do we need to include language? I'm picturing a violation, God forbid, but we've got outstanding debts at the federation level, either personnel costs or contract costs, and is there an understanding that subject to the revocation of the funds, they would be allowed to pay the current existing debts, or would they just be up to them to pay them? What I'm saying, the federation, the funds are seized according to this, the minute a violation is determined. The manager's salary check is due, we have copying bills, at the Federation, if that money disappears again, I'm bad.
Ms.
How
Tucker,
about
then Mr.
unencumbered?
Yeah,
Yes,
encumbered.
I like that.
That's a good
Yeah.
term.
Where am I
And
at?
Mark has a question.
Okay,
Where am
one
I
second
adding
first, can you
unencumbered?
clarify for the clerk?
You're gonna take out unexpended.
Section
So,
19.
Section 19.
Second to the last line.
Okay,
See it?
got it.
Unencumbered.
And I think there may be other sections in here where we talk about forfeiture that you might want to change that.
Address that. Okay, so, Mr. Butler?
Yes. So this is a big proposed change, but one word change. This, as written, and it was in the previous year's contract, shall result in the forfeiture. But really, isn't it up to the municipality to choose whether they want it to happen? And so I would say, what about, for discussion purposes, what about saying may result? Still continues to give the municipality the power to do that if they wish. But if they say, hey, they get rid of that bad egg, Mark Butler or whoever, that did this, then they have the right to continue the contract. Where we're writing it, they're saying, that's it. You do a violation.
They
and it's
supported our
gone.
candidate,
My-
therefore we'll let them keep the.
My inclination, Mr. Butler, is to leave the word shall.
Yeah.
It has more teeth to it, it has more meat to it, and it takes it out of politicians' hands, quite
Yeah.
frankly.
Okay.
I would, yeah.
And
Takes away all
as
the
an
grease.
attorney,
I can already see the writing on the wall with this one, and the FCC is given taxpayer money. It's inappropriate to advocate for candidates, and I don't care who it is.
It's a strong word.
Yeah, that's it.
Takes away all the grease.
That's it. And that's I think appropriate. Are you okay with that, Tim?
Oh, I love it.
So, section 21, the last paragraph.
Yes.
In addition to complying with all applicable municipal, state, and federal laws, any communication made by grantee on behalf of or at the request of a council related to a ballot measure must include a statement of the official position adopted by the council on the issue, the meeting date on which the council took formal action to adopt its official position, and the vote count for and against the measure adopting the official position.
Are there any additional questions, comments, or other on sections 19, 20, or 21?
Section
Mr. Butler?
Yes, so back to the ballot question, section 21, the third paragraph. So I'm just trying to think of when community councils send stuff out at election time supporting these ballots, which many councils have done, supporting, not supporting, and so forth. So if they send minutes to us and wish it to be part of a report that we send out for them, is that satisfactory?
Do you normally change their minutes?
Oh, I certainly do not change their minutes. But what I'm saying is their statement in their minutes or in their newsletter appropriate for this?
That's their-
Does that cover that?
I think in the first sentence, it makes it pretty clear, as I read it, that the grantee supports community council functions, but community councils exist to allow citizens to discuss and advocate on public policy issues that affect the region. So I think the first sentence, or the first paragraph, clearly sets up the fact that you may have a council that takes a position, but that is
Their
that separate
position.
entity from the FCC.
Yes, ma'am.
Am I reading that correctly?
that's right, but I understood Mark's question to be different.
In the middle.
I understood Mark's question to be that and I may be wrong, Mark, so you can correct me, that paragraph 3 seems to say, okay, if they're gonna go ahead and, if the grantee is gonna publish these things, then they have to meet these criteria. They have to, include the statement of the official position adopted by the council on the issue, the meeting date on which the council took formal action to adopt its official position, and the vote count for and against the measure adopting the official position. So in the hypothetical that they had minutes, as long as the minutes included those 3
And I can
things.
guarantee not all community councils put a vote count on there, so.
It's the
Right.
service,
So
you're
that-
providing a service to the community council.
So that could be the issue. Okay, Mark.
Yes,
Did I get it right?
I agree with it, that angle as well, that whether I came up with it or you did, I think it's still a valid point in that the only ballot issue one I can recall recently was one when Eagle River Council, Valley Council I believe it was, Community Council, said, hey, we have questions about this ballot issue. okay? So I sent it out for them with their letterhead on top and so forth, and it got sent to all those to other councils that they requested. So that's the only one I can recall. And certainly in that document, they did not say, I'm sorry?
Right, so they haven't taken a
Somebody speaks, but nothing
position.
to
They
the
haven't
point.
taken a position. They've asked for information. And so I agree on a request for information in your hypothetical there where community council says, we need help on this issue, then that is what Amy answered.
Right, so
Which is, it's come up here. But if they take a position, it says any communication made on behalf of Chris related to a ballot measure. So this goes to the second thing about them
It's not
taking a
your action.
position.
Right, and that's my
Established
question. Do I
position.
become the enforcer with this language here, pulling it out and saying to everyone that sends me an email about ballot issues, okay, did you satisfy these things? Do I become the enforcer of that?
Does your board have to meet and vote and tally all that stuff before you send out the newsletters
It seems
for
a
the
little
various
to me
community
like
councils?
somebody's
I think-
getting in the weeds.
Yeah.
Al and
Yeah.
Julia.
I think that's covered in the second paragraph. The fourth sentence down to that end, grantee must clearly state on all such communications distributed by the Federation of Community Councils that the materials are being sent on behalf of the individual community council and not the Federation of Community Councils. So to me, is that if you're gonna send something out to say, oh, we are sending this out on behalf of the, say, Appaloosa Community Council, and we're simply a service organization, whatever. And I think that's pretty much how it lies.
I think partially, but look at the first sentence, the first two words of the next paragraph. In addition. So by adding in addition, I think you're pulling in that language to augment paragraph 2. So paragraph 2 isn't nearby. Julia's agreeing with me. So I think there's something we could, I like the second paragraph. I think,
there's a quick fix.
okay, let's go for it.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that, and so the backdrop of the quick fix is that the second paragraph there is talking about two things. One is general information, that was Mark's first one. The second one was when they take a position. And so paragraph 3, we need to add the words related to a position
Right.
on a ballot measure. So if you're asked to send out on behalf of the community council, the community council's position, their advocacy on a particular ballot measure, not just their questions, then if they're going to represent that they've taken a position, then these things have to be in there, or you don't send it out.
So that would put me, if I may, Madam Chair,
Sure.
that would put me into the position of enforcer on those issues. Right now, or Val or Bob, one of these, Dick, want to send something out, their president, and it's not inflammatory or anything that I can see, I send it out for them. It's their community council, I just maintain their list. I don't play an enforcement role in that. This, as I read it, says, I have to check and then I have to notify Al. Did you know this paragraph? And I don't know that paragraph, that you're following that rule. And he may say, hey, it's my list, send it out, or not. So it puts me in enforcement role. If that's fine, then,
Well, I think it, I
you know,
don't
it's
know,
Dick's decision.
Madam
enforcement
Chair.
or not, it puts you in an administrative role where you have to administer the contract.
Right, and that's what I'm saying is this paragraph is really telling the councils what they have to
Yes.
do. And this contract, or
Unless
grant
you're-
as it may be, is between the municipality and the FCC.
No, I would disagree. I would say that this paragraph tells you that you cannot use municipal funds to publish what community councils do unless they meet this criteria.
Okay.
Do not use the funds to do it. That's what this says. Now, you can decide whether that works or not.
There's no
here.
need for the Federation and the community council to stand on their own, send their own stuff out.
Well, I don't necessarily. I hear what you're saying. Okay, Mr. Hess, and then back to Julia.
I would like to speak to why some of these new requirements are in here. My office, the clerk's office, individual assembly members have received complaints, emails that have been sent out on behalf of an individual community council, and it has the Federation's logo at the top, and it will have a position regarding Carlick Manor or some other controversial community subject, and you read through it, and you have to get to the end, and you have to figure out on your own, is this being sent out on behalf of the community council, or is this representing the Federation's position? We have had multiple complaints. I received an email. It was a letter from the chair of the SBURSA, Chugiak, Eagle River, Birchwood Rural Road Service Area, responding, and it was their position opposing a ballot proposition that was emailed on the Friday before the municipal election. And I actually was obligated to report that to the city's ethics officer because that person is an elected official. And that was sent out under the Federation logo. So there needs to be some guidelines to keep the Federation and the councils and the Assembly as the grant administrator from getting in trouble.
It's very simple. If there's a violation of this, you simply have to say, according to the municipal grant, I cannot send that out because it does not meet the criteria. Very simple. Okay?
Okay.
Policeman.
Julia, how would you, just to reiterate for the clerk, what is your quick, simple fix for paragraph 3?
As long as paragraph 3 is going to be limited to ballot measures, which would not cover what Darrell talked about, Carlick Manor, the Longhouse, any other advocacy that apparently this was changed to include.
Well, what I was talking about is covered also by the second paragraph.
Well, all of these things are under the title ballot measures.
Right.
And so if we're not talking about a ballot measure and you need some language to fix that Carlick Manor and Longhouse and other issues that aren't ballot measures, then I'd suggest a different paragraph or a different title, ballot measures and other issues or something, because this is going to be.
Okay, we're almost done. So, but for ballot measures, let's finish that up. Maybe we can add the second section if we need to.
So for ballot measures, the first sentence would read, in addition to complying with all applicable municipal, state, and federal laws, any communication made by grantee on behalf of or at the request of a community council related to a position, add the word position on a, so 3 words, position on a ballot measure, must include a statement of the official position, etc.
So you
Because I
got-
think that's what that's talking about, is if they've taken a position on a ballot measure, then they have to show the vote. And
So you gotta
and all
add
that.
community in there, before council. As opposed to their council.
I see
or
what you're
their-
saying.
Yeah, because
Here.
council's not a defined term.
Okay, so right
Are you
here.
gonna have to do that everywhere, that you use the word council?
In other spots, you do use the word community.
Yeah, we use.
Not
it looks-
always.
But not
Not
always.
always.
Yeah, because in paragraph 2.
Is the capital council talking about the federation council or board?
Yeah, it's inconsistent
Council-
throughout the entire
Wait a
document.
minute.
Is defined as.
Council is in the definitions, means any one of or all of the community councils organized for areas in Anchorage and established by ordinance.
So it's not referring
So
to
it's
the
defined.
federation.
Federation's
No.
separate from community councils.
Grantee is the federation, as defined.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
I am too.
Okay, so then for edification here, is the second, you got the change to that, Amanda, those 3 words?
Position on a.
Okay. Julia, did you have any other recommendations for that paragraph?
No, I would just go to what Darrell was talking about. If he thinks that this paragraph covers things that aren't ballot measures, then maybe he could give us some more background on that.
Well, no, the discussion when Barb and I had some discussions regarding this, one of the concerns was those types of emails that are sent out, whether it's Longhouse, Carlick Manor, on behalf of councils that go out with the Federation's logo and no disclaimer that it's sent out at the request of the council, it can be misconstrued as an official position of the Federation.
So I can think of issues coming up in my area that this could potentially,
Right.
I can see community councils being upset if the federation says I can't send out your minute.
Julia, do you have any comments or recommendations or?
But, I mean, that's what we're attempting.
So it seems to me like it's the issue that you brought up was the SBURSA
Well,
And that was a ballot measure, but then you also used examples relating to things that was before the assembly,
Right.
which seems to be not to be a ballot measure.
Right. So I was mixing them up. But years ago, the Federation, when they sent out emails, they would always say at the top of them, sent out at the request of the Fairview Community Council, sent out at the request of Turning Community Council, sent out at the request of this. But I have received multiple emails myself that have the Federation logo on them, and they're a position, whether it's Kathy Gleason or S.J. Klein in Fairview or Eagle River or whatever, talking about some community issue. And if you look at that email, it's hard to tell
Who's it?
whose position this is. Is it the Federation's position, or is it a community council's position? Our thoughts.
Okay, I'd like to turn my attention to the board for just a minute and see if you have any comments on this issue specifically.
I'd like to see the language Darrell was suggesting, just one more paragraph, and maybe Julie, you could put that
I think
together
she's
for
working
us.
on it right now.
I sense it's not done, it's close to done, and we just include it, and that way the friction level should go down.
Okay, Mr. Tremaine and Mr. Tremaine.
Yeah, I think that's covered under paragraph number 2. I mean,
But it says,
you know, it should state on all communications, supposed to be sent on behalf of the individual community council, so it just takes maybe another
So I mean
25 or
paragraph 2
30
here, yeah, I think,
keystrokes.
I think that, my suggestion would be that we need, 2 separate sections here, and that the one section would be a combination of paragraph 1 and we would add to paragraph 1 the language that's beginning with "to that end," because that seems to follow on that. And so, and that would be all, it wouldn't just be ballot measures, it would be a section on FCC communications on behalf of community councils.
Okay,
And it
so
would be,
your proposal then would be to add a new section 22.
I would put it before, I would change 21 to be FCC or grantee communications on behalf of community councils.
Okay, and then so the section, the current section 21 that we were looking at, we are going to renumber section 22.
Well,
Is that right?
how about if we do it this way, step by step? So, section 21, we strike through ballot measures, and we rename that to grantee communication on behalf of community councils.
Okay.
Paragraph 1 stays the same as is, but is supplemented by the words, "to that end, grantee must clearly state on all such communications, blah, blah, blah," which is the middle of paragraph 2.
Can you lost both the clerk and I think.
So if you guys put the disclaimer on, it's okay.
Well,
Okay.
it has nothing, Longhouse has nothing to do with campaign laws.
Are
Okay,
you, are you
so-
talking about end of region of
Okay.
municipality to that end? I don't know what you're talking about.
I think are you saying to move this sentence at the bottom up to this first?
Yes,
Okay,
You following her? 'Cause I will.
I'm on board now.
okay, and then Dick is saying, when grantee supports community council functions, the grantee is also a separate legal entity that receives municipal funds and is subject.
Period after funds.
Okay, funds. Okay, good catch. Okay, so, to restate, this section is now called something different.
Yes.
It's communications. The paragraph 1 ends after municipal funds. So that, and is subject to state and federal campaign laws is not part of that.
It doesn't.
I'm lost again too.
All right, so paragraph 1 here, we're in section 21. Paragraph 1, we stop after municipal funds.
Okay.
Stop that paragraph after municipal funds and pick up
Oh, I see it.
with "to that end," because as Dick Tremaine pointed out, The to that end has nothing to do with state or federal campaign laws. We are not on federal and state campaign laws yet.
So strike out the rest of the sentence.
Yeah, and is subject to state. and-
Is this to that end a separate paragraph? Or does
No,
it?
it can be the same
It
paragraph.
butts up against it.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
I am
got
now
it.
back on board.
And so now
Okay.
paragraph one is
Okay.
ending
Where
with
it is,
community
it's all
councils, period.
Yeah, but
By Federation of Community
Yeah.
Councils, period. Okay, that's that whole section.
Got it.
maybe.
Okay.
Okay, then the new section 22. That is called ballot measures.
Mm-hmm.
And then the first sentence I'm gonna dictate. Actually, I don't have to. First sentence is, in addition to complying, it just picks up with paragraph 3. With paragraph 3.
Okay.
Let's see, in addition.
So that becomes-
Any communicate with, let me just see if I'm right.
I think you start with the second
With that other one,
paragraph.
okay. So, section 22 ballot measures, as Dick says, picks up with grantees shall not advocate on local or state bond issues. So it would be the first half and would include everything of that paragraph up
Okay.
to that end.
Okay.
And then, that would be paragraph A of section 22.
Mm-hmm.
And paragraph B of section 22 would be, in addition to complying with all applicable municipal, state, and federal laws.
As modified.
Yes,
It looks very excellent.
Right.
Yeah.
gotcha. I think I'm clear. Did you have any other comments?
Then my only question is, did we have deleted the subject to state and federal campaign laws in particular. We picked it up enough by saying all applicable state, whether they're campaign laws in
It
somebody's
was
mind
just,
or not.
it was just an explanation,
Okay.
it wasn't
Okay,
a term.
all
Are you
right.
clear?
Perfect.
Okay, and do you think that that works
I
for
think
what
it's
you were talking about?
perfect, yes.
Very good.
You'll
Okay.
still get the calls, because that disclaimer's gonna be pretty small type,
Yeah.
but it'll be there,
But then I can always point out that the disclaimer's there.
absolutely.
So now we are on newly renumbered section 23, economic or financial hardship. Madam Clerk.
Pursuant to Anchorage Municipal Code, Section 13.06A, funding for this grant or agreement can be reduced upon declaration by the mayor to the Anchorage Municipal Assembly of a severe financial or economic hardship. Funding may not be reduced by more than the amount of the then unencumbered balance.
Could, to the attorney, should we take out the phrase or agreement? Because legally, you want this to be a grant, even though it class like a,
Where's the agreement?
First
pursuant
sentence.
to, at the very end of that, it says
Oh, funding
boilerplate.
for this grant or agreement.
It's boilerplate, it's generic. I think you should take or agreement out.
Yeah, I agree. It's a grant.
I would have to look at the charter section to see. I think that may be in there because of the wording of the charter section. I
I've
don't
got
have
no
that
problem,
wording.
it's your liability, not mine.
Right, right. But I mean, your point is well taken. It's just that before I
Okay, well, then we should
go
leave
with
it.
that, then we just want to look at that thing and see how the charter section talks about that.
Okay, you guys ready to sign this?
No, we still have one more. We have to go
Okay.
back to that one more.
Yeah, wait, no, for that.
Can I just,
Go ahead.
From
Uh,
12.
12 of 24, Daryl, Mr. Hess just pointed out that it should be 85,000, not 80,000 halfway down the page.
Oh, yeah, won't help if they only do 80 of the 85,000.
Page 13 is blank.
Page 14 is the budget that you submitted.
Okay.
Page 14 is the budget that was submitted.
So,
Therefore, Madam Clerk, I submit that we change the table that we were debating earlier, titled Municipality of Anchorage Federation of Community Councils, Inc., Quarterly Annual Financial Reports for 2014 to reflect Appendix A.
okay,
1,500 changes to 600.
done.
Okay,
So
that's
you
done.
have a copy.
Now, Madam Ms.
have it.
Tucker, let's go back to page 7, item HD. You had,
Well, let's finish 15.
oh, we didn't do
What's
that?
the payment schedule?
Is that? Oh, there's
Is
a
that gonna
typo.
change because they don't have their payment
And
for the first quarter one until the 23rd, we said?
Not requiring to do report until then.
Right.
this is the
So I'm
this whole
assuming
discussion we.
I'm just going on
That was the point of this
what he
7.
said.
This is the whole problem. We have to now carry ourselves, we as a grantee, have to carry ourselves for the first month.
And we do have funds available to do that
We can.
from the corporation account, which has got $16,000 to loan,
Right.
to the grant account until such times that we do receive.
What kind of interest?
And
Well,
it's
that's-
only that allowed by state law, and, which is up to 10%.
Okay, so it is gonna be a full month because I think you have to change this to January 23rd because I'm assuming that it was the
I
15th.
think we have to change it
Based
to
on
the
the
30th.
7th. Yeah, to the 30th. Is that what I said?
Well, unfortunately, you said
Yeah.
23rd.
Oh.
Actually, the 31st, but,
Yeah.
because I think that's when the checks are cut, you know.
But we talked about the report not being done
Right.
until
23rd.
23rd.
Uh-huh.
So then,
And-
Then the thing has to be the 30th, because I think the 15th here was predicated on the report
7th.
being done on the 7th.
That's why we did it. I mean,
Right.
frankly,
Right.
we've renegotiated this contract twice now. Once with the clerk on the 31st of December.
Right, and once with us here.
today.
Yeah.
He went faster on the 3rd.
Did you change,
good.
did you
Yeah.
change the amount of the grant during that interim?
Only to that approved by the budget of the assembly.
Okay, so on page 15 of 24, item number 1, January 15th will be changed to January 30th. Is there
31st.
concur?
31st?
Okay.
And I'm gonna add an
31st.
L
January
to the end of
31st.
April.
31st is a Saturday.
And April 31st?
I'm gonna add an L to the end of April.
Oh, I thought you said, April,
A
yeah.
pre.
April.
I don't know why, but that's fine.
Is there concurrence on those two changes?
Agree.
January
Absolutely.
31st?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr.
I would
Evans.
recommend putting January 30th, January 31st, 2015 as a Saturday, which means the clerk wouldn't have to pay it until February 2nd.
You mean January 2014?
Yeah, 30,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you.
So the 30th?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I was thinking 15, sorry. No, I'm wrong.
31st.
So 31st. Is there concurrence on the 31st?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on the payment schedule? Seeing none, Appendix C, scope of services.
I don't concur on the 31st.
Okay, going back to page 15 of 24, Assembly Council.
But I think there's another area that we talked about, January 30th.
Yeah, I think it's January 30th, and I think that you have October 30th, even though it has 31 days. It was 7 days after, it was within 7 days of that report, and the report was
The 20.
The
but then
23rd.
it had,
Can I
it
ask
was
a
the
question?
7th.
Does the
Okay, so I
unit
don't
cut
know.
checks every day, or do they cut them in batches?
I have no idea.
I'm all in favor of making it any day of the month you want it to be.
I was gonna just say, the reason I originally said the 30th is because we have April 30th, July 30th, and October 30th. I was
Yes.
Right, that's what I was doing.
That's
Yeah.
what I was
It's 7
doing.
days after the report.
So I am fine with either one. How does the Federation feel? Are you
30th is fine.
30th? Okay, so, Madam Clerk, please
Done.
reflect the
It's
date
an
of
extra
January
day.
30th, 2014 on line 1.
Understanding that it's subject to all obligations under the grant,
Yes.
and if all the obligations are met,
Here's the problem.
there's no problem.
There is no pre-requirement for a grant. There is a pre-requirement if you're talking about a contract, a performance contract.
If you don't
Okay,
get the
so-
reports in,
But
Gentlemen,
now-
we're gonna move forward to Appendix C.
Not-
In the interest of time,
catch it.
yeah, it's 11:37.
Okay,
Is it really?
go ahead.
Yeah. Appendix C, scope of services. Community and public functions. A. Grantee shall perform the following professional services. 1. Keep on file at the grantee's office minutes and attendance records for each grantee board of directors meeting. 2. Maintain and continue to develop a resource library, e-library, and related supportive services. Bullet 1. Obtain municipal documents impacting Anchorage residents and councils for reference use by council members and public. Other other resources and documents as space permits with emphasis on neighborhood organization development. 3. Provide the following technical services to councils and public. Continued development and maintenance of website for ease of use and access. Printing services for the council and the public on information about the involvement of citizens in the governmental process at the neighborhood levels. Mailing services as budget allows on council newsletters. Other technical assistance as required to help councils produce documents. Supplies to support these services and for general office operations. Ongoing training for council members and officers. 3. Maintain and circulate a listing of representatives to the grantee board, if not officer. Dates and places of grantee and council meetings. Maintain contact sheet available to public for pickup and on website. List of representatives. Contact information along with dates and locations of upcoming meetings. Note, grantee will request this information but is not responsible for failure to list representatives or officers' phone or address if declined to be provided. 4. Notify councils and public of public hearings and meetings through grantees' email distribution lists, postings in the grantee's office and on the website, and by other means deemed to be effectively reach public served by grantee. Because time is of the essence for some public hearings and meetings, the grantee agrees to notify council through grantee's email distribution list within 10 calendar days of request to distribute the information. 5. Keep files of each community council's activities. Note, grantee will request this information but is not responsible for failure of any council to provide the same.
I've got a question on 4.
Okay, go ahead.
We were told that the councils are responsible for the 10 calendar days. I think I talked to to think about that at the last meeting, and they said that pertains to any council meeting or anything of that nature. And so I think there needs to be some clarity on that, and Dick may want to comment. Because I asked that question, and I think at the last board meeting, to explain the 10 days, and I believe it was mentioned that pertains to community councils. And so I need, if that's still, I think that needs to be clarified. I think you're there, Bob. Yeah.
What we're asking here is from the Muni is saying, when you're told to do something, do it within 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
Separately, but related, but separately from that, the Federation has made it clear that while they may send the order to have snail mail sent out, it takes a few days for that to happen, and it takes a few days for the snail mail to arrive. So that the community councils have to notify them X number of days ahead of time in order to make it happen at the time they meant.
Okay.
These are two different things.
Okay. So
Who
explain
pays the
how.
postage now? On
Pardon?
snail mail? Who pays the postage on
We
snail
do.
mail?
We
And
do
that just
Federation.
went up, whatever, 6 cents a piece
And we just gave them an extra like $5,000.
Yeah, right.
for that?
And that was on the floor. We discussed specifically postage.
They have a
and
bulk
mailbox.
mailing permit.
And we increased our mail.
Yeah. Mr. Churchill, then.
That last sentence, isn't that totally focused on the email distribution list?
Mm-hmm.
It's limited to the email, so we're not really talking about postage or
No.
getting it to anybody. That's all that relates to is
Mhm.
you've got 10 days to get an email out to the distribution list, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't
Because
have
we
a
don't do
problem.
things overnight. I mean, we
Right.
can't.
Well,
I'm
I'm
saying
just
that-
saying, there's some
Okay,
discussion.
Al,
about
did you have a follow-up after Mr. Churchill's comment?
Yeah, I think that, that 10 days, 'cause I think we have an internal policy of 7 days.
Good.
Right, Mark, isn't there a policy?
We have a posted on our website what that is. I believe it says 10 days as well, but we could go check it.
I thought it was 7 days we had to have it in before.
Julia, even if they had an internal policy of 7 days, by us putting 10 days here, it doesn't preclude them from doing 7 days.
Making it more severe.
Internally.
That's
I certainly-
correct. I'm looking to see because it's a hard sentence for me to follow anyway, so I'm gonna read it out loud.
Okay.
Because time is of the essence for some public hearings and meetings, the grantee agrees to notify councils through grantee's email distribution list within 10 calendar days of request to distribute the information. Okay, so is this, whose request, first of all?
It sounds like the city's request for notification for public hearings.
Right, so I think that that's
getting them
important.
out to the
So
council
within 10
within
calendar
10
days of either small and municipal request, plural, or capital M municipality.
It would be capital.
Okay, and then you need to have S for requests.
Why?
Well,
You
within,
only make
because-
one.
okay, let's see that. Notify meetings.
Each time.
Grantee agrees to notify councils through grantee's email distribution lists within 10 calendar days of municipality request. Okay, request.
Can I ask a separate?
Okay, go ahead.
What if it's a request to distribute and not necessarily from the municipality? What if it came from one of,
Somebody else, a contractor, working.
or a
Public
president of a
works,
community, or a president of a community council?
Or
So I
Dow
think.
Engineers,
Oh yeah.
who's holding a public hearing about a big public event.
So
So they're
I-
just requests.
I don't think that
Okay,
we need to
okay,
limit
all right,
it
all
to.
right, all right.
This was never supposed to, this was supposed to be a standard that the FCC office has for getting information out. And please let's leave it at that. Because we're fine tuning this thing way more than it needs to be fine tuned.
Well, okay, well, that's for the assembly to decide, so.
Well, I think it's
moving
important that
forward.
everybody understands what it is, and so I'm not stupid. And if I can read it and I don't understand it, and it's gonna be part of my job to advise the assembly on what it means, then I'm sorry that it's taking your time to do it. I am really apologetic about that, because I just didn't even know about this, as Amy did.
Well, I knew there was
yesterday.
Who called the meeting?
Mr.
Training.
Training.
And it's a
and-
meeting of the Assembly Community Council Committee. I really want to be clear on that.
And I just want to clarify that I did know the meeting was coming, but I was assuming it was a community council meeting to review the bylaws and stuff. I didn't find out till last night it was about contracts.
And I was requested to attend yesterday, to
And
come
the
today.
community council was not formally notified of
The
it.
FCC was
Right.
not.
The FCC was
Right,
not
But
notified.
this,
So,
That is correct.
you know, and
We
and
need,
it
we need
is,
to move on. though.
and it is,
Despite what it is, it is.
and an assembly community council meeting, therefore it is extended at a, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a courtesy to allow the FCC to participate, but I value your opinion, so that's why we're giving a lot of leeway here.
Since we're both parties.
and that's
Miss-
also why it's taking more time, because
Because we wanna get it right.
And we do want to get it right.
Okay, Ms. Tucker and then Al.
You can skip me, because I'm just
Okay,
still trying
Al.
to figure out what it means.
I have a problem on that,
On that being,
that period of time, because let's just say that Public Works sends an email to the Federation and say, we want this distributed to all of the councils, okay?
yes.
Then what the Federation has is a period of 10 calendar days or 14, a period of 10 calendar days to get that out to the councils.
It could be too late.
And that's the big question, is that if it's gonna take them 10 days, 2 weeks to get that forwarded out, that's really not acceptable, because a lot of times,
You might miss the public hearing.
that's
or
exactly
do that.
correct. Now, I'd like to.
Mr. Steele, what is your comment on that,
I agree.
the 10 days? What would you find an acceptable?
Well, I don't know. It depends on the workload and your work. You know, I don't know that you're in every day. I don't know what the requirements are. Bottom line is, when those kinds of things are noticed, you need to get them out as quick as you can.
I think 5 calendar days should be the maximum.
What are the other FCC board members think about changing it from 10 days to 5 days? And then I'll follow up with Assembly Council, understanding that if we leave it at 10 days internally, the FCC board has the opportunity to change their policy and shorten it. So,
Well, let's assume for the moment that our one full-time employee, partial full-time employee, if we don't have enough money for a full-time, is taking the 4th of July off. And it's Tuesday, and they took the Monday off. And we get a notice on Friday at 4:30, which is not unheard of. And the meeting's on, do we have to get it out by Wednesday, the following week?
good point. Mr. Churchill?
I'd like to give it a go at 7, and if we have problems, we can look at adjusting.
Okay, Ms. Tucker, and then Mr. Hess.
I think it would be good to rearrange that sentence a little bit so that it says something like grantee acknowledges time is of the essence for public hearings and meetings and shall endeavor to get notices out.
Overnight.
Well, I don't know about that, but someday or other, I haven't gotten there yet, but
In a timely fashion.
in a timely fashion.
Not to exceed 7 days.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Okay.
For public hearings.
Okay, I'm gonna.
And meeting notices, and I don't know that all the other notices in the world that they get have to be, it has to be a priority, and so I think that's what really is behind the time requirement, is to say, look, these have to elevate to be priority notices.
Okay, I'll let you work on your sentence a little.
Okay.
I'm gonna go to Mr. Hess.
And you know that Mark has his
Oh,
hand
and then
raised.
Mark.
I concur with a lot of what Julie has said and Mr. Tremaine has said. Having been a council officer for 10 years and then having worked for the municipality and economic and community development, I've seen both sides. And sometimes you will have a developer or an organization that's having a meeting on Friday and gets the federation the notice on Wednesday afternoon at 6 p.m., sends them the notice. And it would be difficult with one employee who may or may not be on vacation. So I like Julia's language about endeavor to get it out in a timely manner, because a lot of it falls back on a community council president who's having a meeting on Thursday and sends the notice to the federation on Wednesday afternoon and wants them to get the notice out. So it's incumbent on, we tried to find a way to balance it last year when we met with Mr. Tremaine and Mark and Britt. And we thought 10 days, that way you include the weekends, but the language to endeavor to get it out in a timely manner, I think that goes towards addressing a lot of the issues, because
So-
a lot of it depends on the timeliness of the request.
And just to recapture what you said, with adding the language to endeavor to be timely, would you be more comfortable leaving it at 10 days than 7 days, or do you have a preference, or do you care in that sense? Is it?
I don't think 10 days is an issue.
Okay.
I think a lot of it is talking about that it's trying to get it out in a timely manner. But I also think we possibly could put something in there that it's incumbent upon the requester to make the request in a timely manner.
So Mr. Butler and then Mr. Steele.
So I get every week at least 100 requests to send stuff out. So I get 100 stuff, whether it's by phone. Yesterday I got one about a political event coming up, a forum for candidates for statewide elected office. I said, we haven't done those, send those out in the past. Well, what they do there affects greatly our community councils through the budgets and so forth. Well, that's a true statement. But I said, but still, we haven't done it in the past. So my first priority when I get stuff in is presidents to send me newsletters for meetings. Number one priority. Everything else
So
stops.
you're already prioritizing.
I have to prioritize
Okay.
because people know that I have this button I can send, and I've sent out, I don't know, in 6 years, 10,000 emails. We can figure it out. But literally, so I have to be very, very careful, because these aren't my lists, except for the all council list. They're each individual council's list. So I have to be very careful with how they send it out. So in effect, I have 37 different instruction lists. One of my councils, Mountain View, says, and ours in North Star, hey, I haven't been getting anything for a while. They complain if they haven't received some other stuff, like Rabbit Creek and stuff. They don't want a flood of things. So I have to be very specific about doing that. And I think I've done an amazing job of being able to do that.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult. My number one priority is that. Second is public hearings, public meetings, like tonight's on Chester Creek Trail. and so forth, liquor licenses, things that have a timeline. And then there's everything else. And everything else is really wide. So if we
Minutes,
put the
yeah.
everything else clause for 5 days, 7 days, even 10 days is difficult at sometimes because it's not a priority. If I get it in now, but as an example, there's a meeting this weekend of the 12th of a legislative, Anchorage legislative
Caucus.
Yeah, so I got it on the 11th of December, and this guy was insisting, the state staffer for a powerful state senator, that I send it out that night. I said, I send it out tonight, and people are going to go tomorrow to this event, and they're not going to see it.
I have to stop you there. The
So-
clerk's timing out. We're
Right.
gonna have to wrap this up, and I'm trying to get through it. Ms.
So I
Tucker,
think-
can you
Pretty
reread?
important.
So you don't want it shortened from 10 days? Is what I'm
What I'm hearing is, and again, I think that the time, the time, I'm thinking that the time of the essence sentence is specific to the public notices and the public meeting things, and Mark says that that's sort of what he's doing anyway, so we're asking for that kind of acknowledgement. And then to me, the 7 to calendar days, that's your,
Journal.
well, I mean, that's just both, I mean,
That's
that's
just
not
what
my
you try to
decision,
do
I'm
for
the
every
scribe, so you guys have to work
Okay,
on that, I'm
so-
doing the.
do you have your sentence done for this section 4?
Well, it's actually two sentences that I did so far, which splits that out. So it would start out with, grantee acknowledges times of the essence for public hearing and public meeting notices. Grantee shall endeavor to distribute such notices in a timely manner. And then you have to go to what you're going to do about the other things.
Okay, so
To distribute such notices timely.
can you get what I'm thinking we're going to end up doing, Mr. Steele?
Yep.
If you're agreeable, is I think we should schedule another meeting of the community council on Friday. It's an assembly council, so we've taken.
You're not running for election.
No, I'm not. But I'm thinking 1 hour meeting to finish this up. Ms. Tucker will have an opportunity to go through and rework HD, page 7. She'll also have an opportunity to solidify section 4.
I can read out page 7.
I'm out of the office on Friday.
Are
So
you?
is Barbara. So
Okay.
we can get someone else from the clerk's staff. I'm just letting you know it's not going to be Secretary Barbara.
Yeah. See what Dick has to say.
Here's the other thing, FCC meets tomorrow night.
Okay?
No,
You
no,
don't-
the week
You got the, yeah.
from tomorrow, sir.
I take it back,
Never mind.
never mind. It's
And I would sit here
Her
all
safe,
day,
yeah,
but the
you-
clerk
you-
has, the clerk has to leave.
2014.
And Tim has to leave, and I won't have a quorum in about 5 minutes, because Tim's
We
gonna
don't
be
have to have.
You don't have to for a community meeting?
Did you,
This
did you
isn't a-
extend, well, it isn't a notice to meeting?
It's a notice to assembly community council meeting.
And you do not have to stop at any particular
No.
hour.
And I don't need a quorum for a community meeting?
No.
Well, we can always call us, he can always call us.
Look at that!
You're going to be the entire committee.
Go ahead and finish
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, we'll just
Well,
finish.
I know the clerk has to leave, but
I can probably stay. I just have meetings all this afternoon that I have to prepare for. I didn't anticipate that this would be this long, so
nor did I.
I don't think anybody.
No, did I?
and in the interest, if we can move it forward, I can
We
I
have
can
it
stay
scheduled for
here
an hour.
a little bit longer. But
I think we're very close.
I'd like to give Amanda, before she leaves, the rework of page 7, which is what Daryl was talking about. So can we go back to that one?
Yeah,
So we just-
Tim, yeah, just a brief moment. Do you want me to carry on?
I've got 2 minutes.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna be here at least 20, I'm sure. But I'm happy to carry on, but you can
Okay,
stay as long as
good.
you want to carry on. Okay, so to clarify, are you going back to this page 7?
Yes.
Okay, page 7,
See you, sailor.
item H,
Yeah. remember
4.
something?
Is that where you're at?
Yes.
Okay, please, go ahead.
And after, on the next to last line, after it says appendix A, then I would add a sentence that says grantee may reference and attach the quarterly report narratives in place of the annual narrative summary of activities.
Sounds
Very-
good.
Quarterly report narratives
Yeah, that's plural.
in
In
place.
place of the annual narrative summary of activities.
Annual narrative summary of activities.
And
Hey.
you want to read that back?
Grantee may reference and attach the quarterly report narratives in place of the annual narrative summary of activity.
Activities.
Activities.
Perfect.
Okay.
And that was it for that one, Julie.
Okay, and so, and then the two, just to.
Now we're back
okay,
to-
The two things that I have on my list is, I'm going to, and then you can tell me what else. I'm going to work, around that, I have three things on my list. I'm gonna work around the auto liability, and I'm gonna talk to Mark before he leaves here and have him restate to me what he thinks was in place so that I have that down,
Yes, ma'am.
okay? And then I'm gonna check the charter on that 13B about the contractor grantee business. And then we have this page 17 about the time is of the essence thing. And those are the only three things that we have hanging out here.
And I can incorporate all these changes that we've made so far. Do we want to finish up page 17?
Item number 4.
And.
So
and-
we
Go ahead.
stopped our review at item number 4. We could continue through the rest of the page. And then,
That's right. Why don't you carry on with that so that I can work on these things? In fact, I'll go and check that charter thing right away, because I sort of reviewed those and I didn't see any legal issues. If you see a legal issue,
Hold it.
then put it in the parking lot and I'll.
Item 5.
keep files of each community council's activities. Note, grantee will request this information but is not responsible for failure of any council to provide the same. Request minutes of each council's meetings and other relevant records relating to council activities, including current officers, history, bylaws, policies, resolutions, correspondence, etc. Maintain paper files in a systematic manner. 6. Maintain reasonable office hours to answer questions and provide information on the community councils at an established office. Provide information and referral on community issues, councils and councils centers services. Maintain a current map of council boundaries. Forward mail to appropriate councils. Miscellaneous provisions. Continue to coordinate grantee board meetings. Perform additional activities at the request of the grantee board. Provide the administrator with an annual overall projected budget which shall encompass all grants, fees, and other resources anticipated during the fiscal year along with projected expenditures. The grantee shall, under no circumstances, provide services to individual councils which are found to be in compliance with Anchorage Municipal Code 2.40.030, definition and recognition of community councils.
I'd just like to, for the record, point out that it was, which are found not to be in compliance.
Oh, yep, sorry.
That's good. Are there any additional questions or comments or concerns from the board?
Sharon, one of the things I'd like to see emphasized is on office hours, that they be predictable and scheduled. You know, there can be a frustration going down and not, the office is closed and not having an idea of when the person's gonna be back. Sometimes it's posted and that doesn't come to fruition.
So
It's just a frustration.
Well, just,
It
yeah.
currently says
Could
reasonable.
we say published?
If I might.
Sure.
This morning, our one staff member left for a 1-hour meeting.
Oh, and it's been 4 hours now.
So that would violate a published, expected, and noticed on the door when he was going to be back.
Well,
Well, I guess my question
understand
is,
that.
Dick, because he's a staff member, why'd he have to come?
Well, if there's been questions directed to him that were pertinent, germane, and important, I think it was very important that he was there.
And if that were an isolated instance, but the last 5 times I've been there, 4 times it's had a published, I'll be back at, and no call, no show. So I guess that's my frustration is stopping by and you know, I recognize I didn't call and make an appointment, but I'm looking at the published office hours. I'm looking at a clock on the door that says, I'll be back at 11:30.
Would you like us to put a notice on, I mean, I'm not sure this is a contract,
I think
but.
it should be handled internally.
Yeah, I think reasonable.
So I think this is something that I prefer to see the board handle internally.
Right.
I would too, but if it doesn't get done, as
We'll
many things
we will
don't,
bring it back
I
next
just
year.
want it for the
Be
good of
happy
the
to.
order. It's been a real frustration.
Yeah, oh, be happy to. Okay, I don't see anything else in Appendix D, I don't really think we need to go through. Appendix E was where we were talking about the quarterly and annual reporting. I think you've got those changes.
Also one more change right there.
Proposed next year. Oh, yeah. Oh, she got it. She got it. We'll take out the 4.
And the
End of year
2/23s.
report due is also down here, Amanda. It says January 7th. We need to make sure that's consistent. Didn't we have it as the 23rd?
I think that's
End of year report due.
good.
Yep.
It should be the 23rd, right?
Should this be the 23rd, Darrell?
No,
Yeah.
end of year, well, you've got annual and the 30th.
Then how do they get?
I have
And I think we changed this to annual, both of them.
Daryl, do you recall, should this be the 23rd or should this be
It's
the
the
30th?
23rd.
So why do we have this up here?
Well, let's say this, we've now changed the annual report to be a whole lot simpler.
Yeah.
Well,
So
it
the
says
23rd is
annual-
gonna work.
So
The
we can,
30th.
we'll make it the 23rd though, because
Yeah.
by
Then we'll be
combining the
consistent with all the other
narratives,
reports.
Okay.
it can give us a week, get it to the check a week quicker.
Right.
Okay, that's 23rd. Everything else. I know Assembly Council's gonna be coming back, but Amanda's gotta go. So,
Amanda, thanks a million.
Thank you
as
very much.
always.
Could I ask?
Yes.
That when we see this next, on Friday, when you see it, that it be last year's contract, signed contract, with red line changes? And that there be then a separate document that is the exact same file with those red line changes taken out? In other words, we would have what we had this time, but they would match,
Oh my
and they would correlate directly with the contract signed last year.
The clerk's office will make every effort to do that.
Amanda, how far in advance do we have to make public notice?
I think 48 hours for committee meetings.
You
I
can,
checked
you
the
can
code.
take this meeting to recess.
Daryl, do we have a meeting on Friday with you?
I would rather renotice it
Yeah.
in
I'm
the
just
interest
asking.
of.
So today is
Well, yeah.
Tuesday,
What meeting?
so can I renotice it for Thursday morning?
Thursday.
Or is that too?
Oh,
we can do it
it's not-
on
That's it,
Monday.
I'm sorry, yes.
Next week, Monday?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Monday or Tuesday.
I can't be here Monday. Britt should be back in town.
Let me know. Whatever, I mean, I think Friday would be a challenge for the clerk's office, but Monday probably works
Yes, thank you, Daryl, yes,
It's Thursday afternoon.
yes.
works
Just
really well.
offices away.
If you can do Monday,
Oh, sure.
but Monday's a challenge for you.
No, it's different.
And
The
Tuesday's
lack
the
of
assembly,
meetings is
that's the
your
hard
fault.
thing is that.
I have crab meetings all the way through.
Well, what we'll do right now, we're gonna take a brief, another 5-minute at ease, because I'm gonna go check with legal counsel and see when they're available. So we will reconvene here at 12:15.
And we can arrange for someone else from the clerk's
Okay,
office to.
I'm gonna talk to Julia first.
The
The candidate does, and then his
I
dad
think
leaves
that's
over
probably-
and goes,
I think that's
congratulations,
probably true.
now you're a
Can
politician.
we go
And
back
he
on
turns and
record?
goes,
We are.
what's that
Started
mean?
again.
Yeah, he's running for
Okay,
senator.
we are back on the record. We took a brief break while Assembly Council was making a quick little change. Julia, can you update us on what you delivered?
Okay, so we could find, because I didn't mark it properly, the place that Al mentioned where it said agreement for contract, and it may have been Al and Dick. But you remember there where it said about it's towards the end of the contract, and
I
it
think it's
says,
13B.
yeah, that's the.
What page is that on the?
It's, 13B is the reference to the charter, but I don't know which section. I think it's, okay, it's section 23. It'd be newly renumbered because we're
Okay.
adding a section 22, right?
Yes.
And so The question was, funding for this grant or agreement. We want to put of this grant. I checked that, there's no reason in the charter not to put that.
Page,
So
we
on
take out-
page 11,
Or agreement.
on the end of the first line and the beginning of the second line,
take out or agreement.
yeah, so funding for this grant. We're calling it a grant. We're trying to make it into a grant.
Okay.
We don't
Well, that's
need.
what we write it next year.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, we're trying to, as best we can, okay? So that was one. Then let's go to page 17, number 4. And the first sentence would be the same. So that's their duty, notify community councils of all these things.
Okay.
Okay, and that sentence ends in the middle of, or towards the end of the third line. Then the next sentence would be what I put on this paper that people are sharing.
Okay.
And it would say, grantee acknowledges time is of the essence for public hearing and public meeting notices. Grantee shall use its best efforts to expediently distribute such notices timely, and agrees to distribute routine notices and postings within 10 calendar days of receipt.
Okay, I like it.
Well, let's ask the community
Okay.
council
Hey,
folks.
Well,
Yeah, he
I'm
speaks
gonna
for
ask
us.
the-
Yeah, yeah,
I want
we're-
to ask the guy who's going to be doing it. Can you do that?
Yeah, in the summer when I have 6 weeks, or the current schedule, 6 weeks without pay, then Betty comes in a couple times a week. Yeah, I think that could be done.
Okay.
So that's certainly much better than what we have right now.
There-
There's no
I
question.
can foresee unforeseen circumstances, but
I think the
Generally, I
word,
think-
the only question I would have is the word is routine, because what I was explaining to you is that I have a priority list in my head, and Betty does, as to what's, and so it's, we work down that list.
Okay, so let's look at this sentence. I was just trying to fit it in. So we have the
Right.
first sentence is notify
Yeah.
community councils and public hearings and meetings through their email lists, postings in the office, and by other means deemed effectively reach public served by grantee. To reach the public? I don't know, something's wrong there. To reach public served by grantee. Let's
No.
put the in front of public. so
it's not
it-
necessary. It's public served by us. It's,
To reach public served, okay, all right. Forget that. Public served by grantee. Grantee acknowledges time is the essence. Grantee shall use its best efforts to distribute such notices timely. And
And so I guess the difference
So-
is, the first sentence has, if I may, public essence, time is of the essence for public hearing and public meeting notices. Second one says, use its best efforts on routine. So 10 days for routine as well. So as an example, the example I gave was someone has it a month and a day from now. Do I need to send that out 10 days after I receive that, or would I send it out more appropriately about a week in advance so people go, aha, and they put it on the calendar and they don't forget about it? I currently send some stuff, if I get something 6 weeks in advance, I currently may do a placeholder, but then I send the appropriate one later. So that's my question, was the routine.
okay, so I defer to Daryl, who knows
Well-
more about the notice thing. So explain how you would want it to work.
I think it's incumbent upon the requester to tell you when they want it sent out.
I'm going to stop right here because I see some of these discussion points that we discuss are internal workings of the FCC, and I prefer to leave it there.
Well, I think that there was some concern, and Daryl, you're going to have to talk about this, if I'm right or not, that I thought that Daryl was getting some feedback from community councils that their notices weren't being distributed. So then they came up with this 10-day, but 10-day doesn't fit every circumstance. So I think that it's not just internal. This is a requirement. What they're going to do internally is on their website. But this was a standard that was 10 days put into this contract negotiated before I entered in here that said that they're going to email it within 10 days.
This was the standard that we worked out with the Federation last year.
So,
I guess my point is I think your language is adequate.
So do I.
I accept it and I want to move on.
Okay. I'm good, Dick? Yep.
Now to the vehicle liability insurance issue.
Page 9 of 24.
Okay.
9 of 22.
I see you've added a third bullet, Julia.
Right, so it can go under insurance, and then, insurance.
I think that's the best spot, because it just
Yeah, it's just, it's
centralizes the
good.
concept.
But on my thing, since they didn't put insurance, it already says insurance at the top before the colon,
Mhm.
so on mine, scratch the word insurance.
Okay.
And then we have grantee shall protect itself and municipality with insurance to cover any liability for work-related use of personally owned vehicles.
Yeah.
And I think that's as good as we can get. I looked at what Al had, but Al was just saying that it required that all vehicle owners must maintain at least a minimum of insurance coverage against loss from damages. And that's just your financial, whatever that's called, insurance. You know, we have, that requirement is your,
Liability?
well, yeah, it's your,
Business liability insurance.
yeah, but it's the state required, that's some other word for it, because when you get your license, you have to say that you have that. And then when you don't, you can have your license revoked. And so we're not talking about that. We're not saying that he, I mean, that's good, but that's not part of your thing. What he has is this other thing that they already get for $26 a quarter or something, and we're just gonna put it in there because that
That is
covers.
required.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, since they already have it.
I see this with a change of taking out the word insurance in the bullet that Assembly Council's asked or drafted for us. I incorporate that, and seeing no other changes, is there anything, Julia, that you see we've missed or we need to address?
I guess I wasn't revisiting paragraph 17 on that grantee business. Just because Mark said that. I mean, what happens is that Mark says that, and then I'm wondering if I captured what we were talking about. So I guess I was left just not really knowing if this was getting to what we intended. And I know that you said that you were satisfied, but for me to be satisfied, I have to know that what I wrote reflected what we were trying to get at, and I'm not there yet. So that's the only question I was left with.
I hear what Mark is saying about other things other than public notices and whatnot, where he's talking about routine things.
Well, I put in routine. I guess
Go ahead.
I'm wondering if I needed to put routine in there. Go ahead.
What if you flip it and say to the effect that the grantee acknowledges time is of the essence for public hearings and public meeting notices and agrees to distribute those within 10 days, and then the routine stuff could be in the second sentence, and that could go out. I mean, I think it's, and everyone at this table, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, the municipality's major concern is that these public meeting and public notices are out within 10 days.
That's what I'm focusing on.
And
That's-
other routine things can go out
Based on the policy of the
In a timely manner.
in a
Timely
timely
manner.
fashion.
That's why I was focusing on it, and I wasn't focusing on the routine so much, because
Yeah.
my concern is that public notices,
Yeah.
things that are time sensitive.
But I just think it needs to flip because the 10 days comes after the routine notices, and I think that the
Yeah, because what I was trying to write is that on the first part of that sentence, shall use its best efforts to expediently distribute, that was for less than 10 days, because some can't wait for 10 days.
Right.
And so, you're right, if it's being read differently, so that
I think we want it out expediently, capturing it expediently within 10 days, and then routine notices. You could have routine notices in a timely
Could you try to
Okay, so what we
reread
got,
your
I think what she's saying is the first sentence stays the same, time is of the essence. Second sentence would be grantee shall, and then it's grantee, and drops down to grantee agrees to distribute such notices. Take
My
out routine,
suggestion would be different.
And
Can you
postings
please
within
stop?
10 calendar days of receipt.
And then you could have a comma or a third sentence, something to the effect of,
And shall use its best efforts to expediently distribute.
other routine
Or just
notices.
other all
notices.
notices, timely.
Okay, so we are going to strike the second line of this initial draft that
We
says
don't
because.
strike-
She's
okay.
back to this front.
Okay.
For the record, I don't think we've clarified it.
Right, right.
So starting with the word because, second sentence will be struck and it will be replaced with, can I please have somebody read it to me in its totality?
Grantee acknowledges time is of the essence for public hearing and public meeting notices. Grantee agrees to distribute such notices and postings within 10 calendar days of receipt, and shall use its best efforts to expediently distribute all notices timely.
One sentence.
Yeah, no,
10.
that was two sentences, but one long one at the end.
10 calendar days of receipt.
10 calendar days of receipt.
Can you read what comes after 10 calendar days of receipt? Grantee agrees to distribute such notices and postings within 10 calendar days of receipt.
And shall use its best efforts to expediently distribute all notices timely. Does it sound doable? You had, somebody had a,
I think
it
that's-
had a,
that's good.
but somebody had, was it you who were saying?
I was just
distribute?
restructuring the sentences, so it's the effect that counts, and I'm with you on this.
Did you
So
get
to
it?
summarize, if I may,
Distribute.
Madam Chair?
Nope, just a moment, please. The clerk's
Distribute.
still having challenges.
I'm sorry. Use its best efforts to expediently distribute.
Yeah, why don't you give her, didn't you have a copy?
She has my copy.
Oh.
I just
Okay,
expediently.
distribute all notices timely.
Okay.
Okay, Madam Clerk, would you please read it back to me?
Grantee acknowledges that time is of the essence for public hearing and public
No,
meeting.
that.
Time is of the essence.
Grantee acknowledges time is of the essence, not grantee acknowledges that time is
Okay.
of the essence.
Okay,
Okay,
excuse
go
me.
ahead.
Grantee acknowledges time is of the essence for public hearing and public meeting notices. Grantee agrees to distribute such notices and postings within 10 calendar days of receipt and shall use its best efforts to expediently distribute all notices.
Timely. And you can refer to, we're using all these words up here, we're just redistributing.
And that's
Yeah.
where,
As long as you guys
okay.
want. So you're good with that?
And does that capture what you were talking about, Mark?
I believe so. My quick summary, if I may?
You have 30 seconds.
Yes, is that they're considered highest priority, and they go out absolutely, no, on a timely basis, but absolutely within 10 days. And the other things I send out on a timely basis.
Sounds
And
good.
it's
But it
important for
doesn't
him to
say
summarize,
everything
so he
in
knows
10
what
days.
it is, right.
Yes,
And
right.
we deleted the part about all routine notices have to go out within 10
Thank
days,
you.
because that was my misunderstanding of our.
Some stuff doesn't get
Okay,
clear.
seeing no other changes to this, I'll ask.
Ignore
Daryl.
that.
I do have a
Sure.
question. On for Julia, on page 10 at the top, C, with the addition of the automobile insurance requirement, does this mean that any Federation employees who use their vehicle for personal, their personal vehicle for Federation business have to name the municipality as an additional insured?
Each of the policy required by this section shall name the municipality. I'm thinking that one that he gets does.
The
And
the
and that's
$26
why-
one we paid for,
But
not the
Daryl-
individual.
Daryl, are you asking the question that Dick Tremaine,
Yes.
says Bob Churchill? I
No.
have
I'm
his-
talking about if this refers to employees, is my understanding.
Okay, I just want to clarify. So it would have to be.
Because it
employed.
says each of the insurance required in the previous, in B,
Right,
has to
and
name.
that B is now gonna say grantee shall protect itself and municipality with insurance.
Okay.
That's the
And so
pack.
that's,
Okay.
They get a
needs to be-
separate.
No,
they
I
get a
was just
separate
asking.
policy.
Not the
So-
personal insurance.
Okay.
Probably.
Right.
Okay, Amanda, are you confident with all these edits and changes? Julia, what do you recommend? Do you think that,
I can distribute the changes to the committee members.
Yeah, well, I think
Alright.
that also the FCC this time needs to have a copy of the contract that we've renegotiated here.
okay, so the FCC's next. I will ask, are you free on Thursday morning or no?
I have some meetings Thursday, but I don't have my calendar with me
And
right
I
now.
don't, I think that people can get the,
I just don't want to accept it without seeing the changes first.
right, and so a couple of things. One is, there's not a
If you
formal
would find
requirement
out.
for the community council to accept, the community council committee meeting to accept anything about that. I mean, you don't have to do anything about that. But I think that as a meeting, so I think that, yes, the next step is to make sure that the thing goes out to the committee members. And I would appreciate being on the list also.
Okay.
Probably so would Daryl.
So-
And the FCC, so that we can make sure that it reflects what we talked about. We don't have any things. Then they'd send an email back and say, okay, this is what we talked about. Then you have confirmation. Then you can report out to Ernie and to Dick, we met and this is it. We have consensus. It took us 3.5 hours to do it, but we got it.
Okay, so Amanda, will you incorporate all changes, CC all community council committee assembly members, like assembly council? We will review
Mr.
it.
Hess.
Yeah, and Mr.
He's
Hess.
a member.
We will review
That's
it.
right, except it's-
Upon our review, we will and acknowledgement from the chair, we will forward it to the Federation of Community Councils for their review.
Sounds good.
Meeting
And
adjourned.
that's Brit